The day I was diagnosed and told I needed surgery, the nurse came in with the payment slip. I stared at the number on it, silent for a moment. My husband immediately rubbed his hands together and urged, "Why don't we try conservative treatment first? We need to save that money for our son's new car." My son nodded along. "Mom, you've got a strong constitution, you can tough it out. I've already put down a deposit on the new car." Looking at the entitlement in their eyes, I silently tucked the medical report into the drawer later. As my condition worsened and I lay in bed unable to even drink water, they were still arguing over how to split my pension on my deathbed. All I heard was my husband muttering, "If only I hadn't been so stingy back then, we'd have had the money to treat it now." When I opened my eyes again, I decided I would no longer save money for a lifeline. "Why are you all panicking?" I woke up because I was freezing. When I opened my eyes, frost flowers had formed on the window glass, and the electronic calendar on the bedside table showed January 15th, 2020. This was 3 months before I was diagnosed with stomach cancer. On this day in my previous life, I was squatting in a corner of the vegetable market, haggling with the vendor over a single dime, my fingers red from the cold, yet I couldn't bear to buy a pair of gloves. But now, I threw off the covers, walked straight to the wardrobe, and pulled out the down jacket that had been buried at the bottom of the trunk, a welfare benefit my husband Su Jianjun had received from his workplace 10 years ago. He had tossed it to me because he thought the style was outdated, but I had always been reluctant to wear it, afraid that wearing it out would mean I couldn't pass it on to my grandson. "Are you crazy?" Woken by my commotion, Su Jianjun rubbed his eyes and scolded, "Why are you wearing such thick clothes in the middle of winter? Don't you care about the electricity bill?" I ignored him, slipped on the down jacket, and headed out the door. "Hey, where are you going?" he called out from behind. "Getting breakfast." I pulled open the door without looking back, and the cold wind rushed into my collar, but it didn't sting my bones like it had in my past life. Steam rose from the breakfast stall at the entrance of the neighborhood. In the past, I would only buy 2 plain steamed buns and make do with the free noodle soup. Today, I walked up to the stall and said clearly, "Boss, 2 fried dough sticks, 1 bowl of soy milk with an egg, and 2 meat buns." The boss paused for a moment, then quickly packed them up. "Sure, that'll be $8.50. I pulled out my phone to scan the code, and as I took the breakfast, I happened to run into Aunt Zhang from next door. "Shu Qin, you're treating yourself so well today." Aunt Zhang's eyes went wide. "Isn't your Jianjun saying you need to save up for your son's down payment?" In my past life, hearing this would have made me blush and explain, "Just treating myself once in a while, and then I would save even more aggressively next time." But now I just smiled and said, "Health is the real capital. Getting sick from starving yourself costs even more to treat." Aunt Zhang pursed her lips, turned around, and muttered to the person next to her, "Looks like Su Jianjun has spoiled her. She really doesn't know how to manage a household." I didn't mind and walked home with my breakfast. When I pushed open the door, Su Jianjun was sitting on the sofa smoking, his brows furrowed into a knot. "You bought all this?" He stared at the breakfast in my hands. "Don't you know there's leftover rice at home? You can heat up the leftover rice for yourself," I said, placing the meat buns and soy milk on the table. "I feel like eating this today." Su Jianjun suddenly stood up, ash falling onto his pant leg. "Lin Shuqin, what's gotten into you? 8.5 yuan for this little bit. Do you know our son Su Mingwei just said yesterday that all his colleagues have switched to iPhones. What does him changing his phone have to do with me eating breakfast?" I took a bite of the meat bun, the warm filling melting in my mouth. "If he wants a new one, he can earn the money himself." Su Jianjun was so angry he couldn't speak. "How did I end up marrying a woman who doesn't understand reason? Isn't the family's money meant to be saved for our son?" I didn't respond, slowly sipping my soy milk. In my past life, it was this very sentence that made me willingly eat leftovers for 20 years, wear old clothes for 20 years, and pour all my salary and savings into Su Mingwei. When he wanted to buy a house, I emptied my retirement savings and even took on debt. When he wanted a car, I secretly worked odd jobs behind Su Jianjun's back. When he wanted to get married, I even pawned my dowry gold bracelet without telling anyone. But in the end, when I was writhing in pain on the hospital bed, Su Mingwei was using my life saving money to buy his wife the latest handbag. Su Jianjun sat by the bed sighing, not out of concern for me, but because he was afraid that if I died, there would be no one to cook and do laundry for him. 3 at noon, I went to the office to pick up my salary. Xiaoli from the finance department smiled and said, "Sister Lin, you got a good performance bonus this month. You'll be taking home 5,200 yuan. I took the salary card, but instead of my usual habit of calculating how much to save and how Much to leave for Su Mingwei. I felt different in my past life. I didn't spend a single cent of this money. I transferred it all to Su Mingwei's bank account, just because the day before he said, "Mom, my girlfriend wants a luxury necklace." But now, I walked out of the office and headed straight to the jewelry store across the street. The saleswoman greeted me warmly. "Ma'am, what are you looking for? Our new gold bangles would suit you perfectly." I pointed to the thickest one. "This one, ring it up." The saleswoman paused for a moment, then quickly wrote up the receipt. "Ma'am, you have great taste. This piece has a solid weight and looks elegant. It's 18,800 yuan. I swiped my salary card and topped it up with some of my savings as I walked out of the jewelry store holding the gold bracelet. The sunlight glinted off it, dazzling my eyes. This was the first time in my life I had bought gold jewelry for myself. When I got home, Su Jianjun was cooking in the kitchen. The moment he saw the jewelry box in my hand, his face darkened. "What's that you're holding?" I opened the box and showed him the gold bracelet. "I bought it for myself." "What?" Su Jianjun's spatula clattered to the floor. "Lin Shuqin, have you lost your mind? Spending over 10,000 on this? Do you know our son has to pay rent next month?" "What does his rent have to do with me?" I put the bracelet on my wrist. It fit perfectly. "He's 25 now. It's time he earned his own keep." "Have you been possessed or something?" Su Jianjun rushed over, trying to snatch the box. "Return it right now. That money would be much better saved for our son's down payment." "I'm not returning it." I stepped back, shielding my wrist. "It's my money, and I'll spend it however I please." "Your money?" Su Jianjun sneered. "You married me, so your money is the family's money. It's your son's money." Those words were so familiar they made me sick. In my past life, he had taken my sacrifices for granted time and time again. I took a deep breath. "From today on, my money is mine, your money is yours, and our son can earn his own money himself." Su Jianjun's face turned red with rage. He immediately called Su Mingwei. "Mingwei, get home right now. Your mother has lost her mind. She used her salary to buy a gold bracelet." For Su Mingwei stormed home half an hour later. The moment he stepped through the door, he pointed at me and yelled, "Mom, what's wrong with you? I already told my girlfriend we'd save up enough next month to go look at a car, but you go and spend the money on useless stuff like this." "It's my money, and I can buy whatever I want." I sat on the sofa, watching him fume. In my past life, he was like this. Every time I didn't give him money, he'd put on a sour face, as if I owed him 8 million. "Freedom," Su Mingwei sneered. "As a mother, shouldn't you be thinking about your son? My colleague's mom bought him a wedding house in full, so what's wrong with you buying me a car?" "How much money does your colleague's mom have?" I retorted. "Your dad makes 4,000 a month, and I make 3,500. Even if we didn't eat or drink, we couldn't keep up with them." "Then why don't you work a few more jobs?" Su Mingwei said matter-of-factly. "My classmate's mom is 60 and still stocking shelves at the supermarket." Su Jianjun chimed in. "Exactly, look at you, staying home all day doing nothing. What's the harm in going out to earn a bit more money?" I looked at the father and son before me and suddenly found it all ridiculous. In my past life, I actually listened to that. I worked at the office during the day, washed dishes at a restaurant at night, and handed out flyers on weekends. I was so exhausted I could barely straighten my back, but I didn't dare rest, and what came of it? I worked myself into a stomach ulcer, while those two spent my hard-earned money on wine and women outside. "I'm not working anymore." I stood up. "I'm old and in poor health. I need to rest." "What's wrong with your health?" Su Mingwei rolled his eyes. "I think you're just lazy. You don't want to earn money for me. Think whatever you want." I walked to the door. "I'm going out for a walk. You two can handle dinner yourselves." "Lin Shuqin, stop right there." Su Jianjun roared. I didn't look back and walked straight out of the house. The elderly women in the neighborhood were gathered by the flower bed chatting. When they saw the gold bracelet on my wrist, they all crowded around. "Shuqin, that bracelet is really beautiful. It must have cost a fortune." "Right, yeah, your Jianjun is really good to you." I smiled. "I bought it myself. Taking care of yourself is better than anything." The old ladies were taken aback, then started chattering all at once. Did she have a fight with Jianjun? I heard she didn't save money for her son to buy a car, but bought gold jewelry for herself. That's not right. How can a mother be so selfish? These words pierced my heart like needles, but unlike my previous life, I didn't flee in panic. I straightened my back and said with a smile, "I've worked hard all my life. Don't I deserve to be good to myself? The old ladies were left speechless, their faces turning sour. 5. When I got home that evening, Su Jianjun and Su Mingwei hadn't eaten dinner and were sitting on the sofa in a cold war. I ignored them and heated up leftovers for myself. Just as I put down my chopsticks, the doorbell rang. Opening the door, I saw it was my mother-in-law, Wang Guiying. As she stepped inside, she yelled at me, "Lin Shuqin, you've gotten bold. How dare you not save money for my grandson and buy yourself a gold bracelet instead? Mom, why are you here?" I stepped aside to let her in. "If I hadn't come, you'd have torn this family apart." Wang Guiying plopped down on the sofa and pointed at my nose, scolding, "As a wife, you should take good care of your husband and raise your son well. But no, you just waste money on nonsense. Do you have any conscience toward Jianjun?" Toward Mingwei, Su Jianjun nodded beside her. "Mom is right, you're just too selfish." Su Mingwei chimed in, "Grandma, look at my mom, she doesn't care whether I live or die now." Wang Guiying slammed the table. "Lin Shuqin, I'm telling you, return that bracelet tomorrow. Give the money to Mingwei to buy a car, otherwise, I won't recognize you as my daughter-in-law. In my past life, I was intimidated by her words and obediently returned the bracelet the next day, even taking out all the private savings I had accumulated over the years. But now, I just said calmly, "Mom, I'm not returning this bracelet. If Mingwei wants a car, let him earn the money himself." "You," Wang Guiying trembled with rage. "How did I end up with such an ungrateful daughter-in-law? Back when I married your father, I scrimped and saved my whole life, taking good care of your father-in-law and all the kids, unlike you, so pampered and spoiled. Times have changed." I looked at her. "Back then, you had no choice. Now I have the ability to treat myself well. Why shouldn't I? This is unfilial." Wang Guiying slapped her thigh and began to wail. "What's the point of me living anymore? My son married a thankless woman, and my grandson has no one to care for him." Su Jianjun quickly tried to calm her down. "Mom, don't be angry. I'll make her return the bracelet tomorrow." Su Mingwei also chimed in. "Grandma, please stop crying. When I have money, I'll definitely buy you some great supplements." Watching this farce, I only felt exhausted. In my past life, I was morally blackmailed by them like this, living like a spinning top, constantly turning, yet no one cared if I was tired. "If you feel wronged here, then go back," I said as I stood up. "I'm tired and going to bed." "Lin Shuqin, stop right there." Wang Guiying jumped up. "If you don't return the bracelet today, I'll die at your house. Suit yourself." I walked into the bedroom without looking back and locked the door behind me. From outside the door came Wang Guiying's wailing, Su Jianjun's attempts to mediate, and Su Mingwei's complaints. As noisy as a marketplace, I leaned against the door, and finally couldn't hold back my tears, not because I felt wronged, but because I felt relieved that I finally had the courage to say no. 6. The next day, as soon as I walked into the office, I could sense something was off. My colleagues were giving me strange looks, huddling in small groups and whispering, only to quickly disperse when they saw me coming. I knew in my heart that Wang Guiying or Su Jianjun must have told the office about me buying the gold bracelet. Sure enough, at lunch in the cafeteria, Xiaoli leaned in and asked quietly, "Sister Lin, did you really not save money for your son and buy yourself a gold bracelet instead?" "Yeah," I said, looking down at my food. "What's wrong?" "Oh, Lin Jia, how could you be so foolish?" Xiaoli said anxiously. "How can a mother be so selfish? Look at Sister Zhang, she won't even buy herself new clothes just to save up for her son's house." "I'm not Sister Zhang." I put down my chopsticks. "My son is already an adult. It's time for him to make his own way." "That's true, but who doesn't do everything for their kids?" Xiaoli sighed. "Aren't you afraid of what others might say?" "What others say is their business. I just need to live my own life well." I picked up my tray. "I'm full. I'll head off now." As I walked out of the cafeteria, I ran straight into the director, Xiaolin. The director said, patting me on the shoulder, "I heard you've been a bit upset lately. If you're having trouble at home, you can talk to the unit. Don't let it affect your work." I knew what he meant. Someone must have complained about me to him. "Thank you for your concern, Director. I'm fine." I smiled. "I just think that people can't live their whole lives for others. We have to be good to ourselves too." The director was taken aback, said nothing more, shook his head, and left. When I came to work in the afternoon, I found that my job had been reassigned. The important project I was originally in charge of was given to someone else, and the boss told me to organize the archives, a job with no real skill involved. I knew someone was making things difficult for me. In my past life, I would have cried and begged the boss, promising to be more obedient in the future and to save money for the family, but now, I just calmly took the key to the filing cabinet. Okay, I'll get it done. Seeing that I didn't make a fuss, my colleagues all looked surprised when I got off work. Shelley grabbed me again. Sister Lynn, how can you just accept this? It's obvious someone is targeting you. What else can I do but feel unwilling? I smiled. I can find another job, but if my health collapses, there's nothing left. Shelley looked at me, as if wanting to say something but holding back. After walking out of the company gate, I didn't go straight home. Instead, I went to a nearby park. Under the setting sun, many elderly people were dancing in the square, their faces beaming with smiles. I found a bench and sat down, watching them. Suddenly, a sense of calm washed over me. In my past life, I always felt I had to sacrifice for my family and give everything for my son, forgetting that I too am a living person with the right to pursue happiness. From today on, I will live for myself. 7. When I got home, Su Jianjun and Su Mingwei were still in a cold war. There was only one plate of stir-fried greens and a bowl of rice on the table. It was clearly Su Jianjun's cooking. Half-hearted at best, I had no appetite, so I turned to go to the kitchen to cook some noodles. Where are you going? Su Jianjun said sarcastically. Going out to buy something good to eat again. Do you really think you're some kind of princess? I'm hungry, just making some noodles. I ignored his taunt. There's food and rice at home, eat this. Su Jianjun slammed his chopsticks on the table. Don't think I don't know what's on your mind. You're just looking for an excuse to spend money, aren't you? The food's already cold. How am I supposed to eat it? I frowned. What's wrong with eating cold food? Su Mingwei chimed in. What's the matter with my dad's cooking? You're just looking down on him. I'm not looking down on him. I just don't want to eat cold food. I walked into the kitchen and opened the fridge. The fridge was nearly empty, with just a few eggs and a bunch of greens. In my past life, I always saved the good food for my husband and son, eating leftovers myself, and ended up ruining my stomach. There's no noodles. I'll go buy some. I closed the fridge door and grabbed my coat. How dare you? Su Jianjun stood up. Lin Shuqin, if you dare step out of this house today, don't bother coming back. Fine, I won't come back. I pulled the door open. I've had enough of this family. With that, I walked away without looking back. It was cold outside. I wrapped my coat tighter and wandered aimlessly down the street. Passing by a noodle shop, I walked in and ordered a bowl of beef noodles. The steaming bowl of noodles was placed in front of me. I ate ravenously, but tears betrayed me and fell. I just wanted a warm meal. Why was it so hard? After finishing the noodles, I didn't go home. Instead, I found a cheap hotel and checked in. Lying in bed, I tossed and turned, unable to fall asleep. I knew I had truly angered them this time, but I had no regrets. I couldn't live like I did in my past life, without a sense of self, pushed around by others. Chapter 7. Their compromise. The next morning, I was woken up by the ringing of my phone. It was Su Jianjun calling. I hesitated for a moment, but still answered. Lin Shuqin, where are you? Get back here right now. Su Jianjun's voice was irritable. I'm not coming back, I said calmly. You're not coming back? Huh, fine, if you don't come back, I'll divorce you. Su Jianjun threatened. In my past life, what I feared most was divorce. I thought it was shameful for a woman to get divorced, and I had nowhere to go. But now, I just said lightly, fine, if you want a divorce, then let's get a divorce. There was a moment of silence on the other end of the line, and Su Jianjun's voice softened. Shuqin, stop messing around and come back quickly. I was wrong yesterday. I shouldn't have lost my temper with you. I'm not messing around, I insisted. I just want some time alone. Then at least tell me where you are. I'm worried about you. Su Jianjun's voice carried a hint of coaxing. I hesitated for a moment, but still gave him the address of the hotel. Half an hour later, Su Jianjun and Su Mingwei appeared at the entrance of the hotel. Su Jianjun was holding a thermos in his hand, a smile plastered on his face. Shuqin, I brought you breakfast, your favorite soy milk and fried dough sticks. Su Mingwei also kept his head down and, for once, said something conciliatory. Mom, I'm sorry, I was wrong yesterday. Don't be mad anymore. Come home with us. Looking at their sincere expressions, I sneered inwardly. 8. I didn't take the thermos from Su Jianjun's hand. I just leaned against the doorframe, staring coldly at them. Now you realize you were wrong. That's not what you said yesterday. The smile on Su Jianjun's face froze for a moment. Then he quickly forced it back. Yes, we were out of line yesterday. We shouldn't have lost our temper with you. Look, it's so uncomfortable for you to stay in a hotel alone. Come home, it's warm there. Su Mingwei nodded along. Mom, I promise I won't talk back to you anymore. You can buy whatever you want, and I won't rush you to save money for me. If this had been in my past life, I would have been moved to tears and immediately gone home with them. But now, I only find it ironic they aren't genuinely admitting their mistakes, they're just afraid that if I really don't come home, there will be no one to cook and clean for them, no one to keep being their ATM. I'm not going back. I shook my head. I want to stay here for a few more days. Don't be like that, Shuqin. Su Jianjun grew anxious and stepped forward to grab my hand. Can't we talk about this at home? Staying out is so expensive, dozens of yuan a day. As expected, it was still about the money. I shook off his hand. It's my money, and I'll spend it however I want. Why are you so stubborn, child? Su Jianjun's patience was wearing thin, and his tone was turning impatient again. What exactly do you want before you'll come home? It's simple. I looked at them. First, from now on, we split household expenses 50-50, and I manage my own salary. Second, Su Mingwei moves out and pays his own rent and utilities. Third, we take turns doing the housework. Don't expect me to do it all alone. Su Jianjun and Su Mingwei were both stunned. Su Mingwei was the first to jump up. Mom, you've gone too far. Why should I move out? This is my home too. Your home, I sneered. You're an adult with a job. What right do you have to still be mooching off your parents? Su Jianjun frowned too. Shuqin, why bring up going Dutch in a family? How distant that sounds. Mingwei is still young, and it's not safe for him to move out. He's 25, not young anymore. I stood my ground. If you agree, I'll come back. If not, I'll keep living here. With that, I turned to close the door. Wait, Su Jianjun quickly stopped me. We agree to everything. Just come home with us first. I could see the reluctance in his eyes and knew this was just a temporary fix, but that was fine. I had all the time in the world to wear them down. Once home, the first thing I did was move all my things into the guest room. What are you doing? Su Jianjun's face turned green as he watched me make the bed, sleeping in separate rooms. Yeah, I didn't look up. I just want to get a good night's sleep. In my past life, we squeezed together on one bed, and his snoring kept me awake all night. I told him countless times, but it never helped. Now, I don't want to put up with it anymore. Su Jianjun wanted to say something, but in the end, he held it back and sulkily returned to the master bedroom. At dinner that evening, Su Mingwei dawdled and didn't pick up his chopsticks. I knew he was waiting for me to serve him rice and pick up food for him, just like I had done countless times before, but I just ate on my own, even deliberately pulling a plate of braised pork closer to me. Mom, I want to eat that piece of rib. Su Mingwei finally couldn't help but speak up. Help yourself, I said without even looking up. Su Mingwei's face instantly fell, and he looked to Su Jianjun for help. Su Jianjun was about to speak, but I stopped him with a look. His hands aren't broken, he can pick it up himself. Su Jianjun opened his mouth but ultimately didn't dare to say a word. After dinner, Su Mingwei pushed his bowl aside and tried to head back to his room to play games. Stop right there, I called him back. Wash the dishes. Why should I? Su Mingwei glared at me. Wasn't it always you who did the dishes before? Before is before, now is now. I wiped my mouth. Today it's your turn to wash the dishes. Don't forget we agreed to take turns with the chores. I'm not washing them. Su Mingwei started acting spoiled. Wash them yourself if you want. Okay, I nodded. You don't have to wash them if you don't want to. From today on, you wash your own clothes and cook your own meals, or you go hungry. You. Su Mingwei's face flushed with anger, but he dared not say anything more. He picked up his bowl and chopsticks and sulkily walked into the kitchen. Listening to the clatter of dishes being thrown around in the kitchen, I knew he was throwing a tantrum, but instead of feeling sorry for him as I used to, I actually felt relieved. This was only the beginning. A few days of peace hadn't passed before Wang Guiying showed up again. This time, she didn't scold me outright. Instead, she took my hand and sighed heavily. Shuqin, I know you've been wronged, but Mingwei is still your son. How can you really let him move out? Rent is so expensive these days. How can he get by on his salary? I knew she had come to plead his case. Mom, he's 25. He should be independent. I pulled my hand back. He can't just live off us forever. What do you mean, live off us? It's his home too. Wang Guiying immediately raised her voice. As his mother, you should be supporting your son. How can you force him out to suffer, letting him earn his own living? How is that suffering? I retorted. Is he going to mooch off his parents for the rest of his life? What kind of talk is that? Wang Guiying slammed the table and stood up. How did our Su family end up with a heartless woman like you? Let me tell you, Mingwei is not moving out. If you dare kick him out, I'll come to your house and make a scene every single day. Suit yourself. I stood up. I have to go to work. I won't keep you company. With that, I grabbed my bag and left. completely ignoring her tantrum. When I got home from work that afternoon, a strong smell of cooking oil hit me as soon as I walked in. Su Mingwei was busy in the kitchen wearing an apron, while Wang Guiying directed him from the side. Add more salt. Mingwei likes it salty. Seeing me come back, Su Mingwei proudly lifted his chin. Mom, Grandma made braised pork for me today, but you don't get any. Wang Guiying also looked at me sideways. Shu Qin, I'm not one to criticize, but how can a mother be so petty with her own son? Mingwei just wants a bite of meat, and you're being stingy. That's too much. I looked at the full plate of braised pork on the table and sneered inwardly. In my past life, I couldn't bear to eat a single piece of meat, saving it all for them, the father and son, yet Wang Guiying still went around saying I was stingy and hid the meat to eat myself now, just because I don't wait on them hand and foot like before. I've become heartless. Did you buy this meat? I asked Wang Guiying. Wang Guiying was taken aback. Yes, why, nothing. I nodded. Since you bought it, you two enjoy it slowly. I'll eat out. I turned and walked away without a word, completely ignoring their shouts. I walked to the restaurant at the entrance of the neighborhood, ordered a plate of sweet and sour spare ribs and a bowl of rice, and ate slowly. Looking out at the myriad lights of the city, I felt for the first time that dining alone could be quite pleasant. 11. In the end, Su Mingwei didn't move out. It wasn't that I had a change of heart, but that he had found a new backer, his girlfriend's mother. That day, he came home beaming and announced, Mom, my girlfriend's mother said that as long as we get married, her family will pay the down payment for the house. We only need to cover the renovation and the monthly mortgage. Su Jianjun was overjoyed. Really, that's great. Now we don't have to save up for the down payment. Su Mingwei shot me a smug look. See, even if you don't save money for me, I can still afford to buy a house. I ignored his boasting, but I knew deep down it wasn't that simple. Sure enough, a few days later, Su Mingwei hesitantly spoke up. Mom, we're still short 100,000 for the renovation. Could you lend it to me first? No, I refused without a second thought. I need to keep my money for retirement. How can you be so cold-hearted? Su Mingwei immediately exploded. That's your grandchild's future home. Can't you even spare this much? Why should I? I shot back. The down payment was paid by the woman's side, whose name is on the property deed. Su Mingwei's face instantly stiffened. It's under both our names. Oh, so you're both paying the mortgage, and you should both cover the renovation costs too. I looked at him. I have no obligation to fund your wedding home. You. Su Mingwei was so furious he couldn't speak, and he turned around to go complain to Su Jianjun. Su Jianjun did come to find me, earnestly trying to persuade me. Shu Qin, just help Mingwei out. His wedding is a big deal. It's only 100,000 yuan. We can save up slowly and pay you back later. My money is for emergencies. I'm not lending it out. I was firm in my stance. In my past life, I lent my retirement savings to Su Mingwei to buy a house, and when I got sick, I couldn't get a single cent back. There's no way I'm making that same mistake again this time. Seeing that he couldn't talk me into it, Su Jianjun started giving me the cold shoulder. The atmosphere at home dropped to freezing point. No one spoke during meals, and the house was eerily silent, but I didn't care. Compared to the despair of my past life, this bit of cold treatment was nothing. 12. The gossip in the office continued. Some said I was only thinking of my own comfort and didn't care about my son. Others said I had been deceived by someone outside, which was why I had become so unusual. There were even those who claimed that Su Jianjun and I had a falling out and were about to get divorced. I couldn't be bothered with these rumors and just focused on doing my job well. Unexpectedly, a turning point came. The director who had previously transferred me to the archives was suddenly found to have embezzled public funds and was taken away by the disciplinary inspection committee. The new director was a young female leader, decisive in her actions and not one for beating around the bush. On her first day, she called me in for a talk. Sister Lin, I've looked at your file. The projects you handled before were excellent. Why did you end up in the archives later? I hesitated for a moment, then briefly explained the whole story. The female director frowned after hearing this. What kind of reasoning is that? Spending your own money is only natural. Those people are just idle gossips with nothing better to do. She paused and continued. Sister Lin, I think you have good skills. The archives room is too much of a waste of your talent. You should come back to the project team. There's a new project that needs people right now. I was stunned, never expecting such an outcome. In my previous life, I spent my entire career in the archives room, unknown and unnoticed, and ended up with even less pension than others. Thank you, Director. I was too moved to speak. No need to thank me. You deserve it. The female director smiled. Work hard, and don't let those idle rumors affect you. The day I Return to the project team. My colleagues' looks toward me had completely changed. Those who had previously sneered and mocked me now came up to curry favor. Shaoli was all smiles. Sister Lin, I knew you'd come back. With your skills, the archives room could never hold you. I looked at her fake smile and felt a cold sneer inside. That's human nature. When you're weak, there's always someone ready to step on you. When you're strong, the whole world treats you with kindness. 13. Seeing that I was gaining importance at work again, Su Mingwei started scheming once more. Somehow he found out that my project team had received bonuses, and as soon as he got home, he demanded, "Mom, you got a bonus, right? I'm short 20,000 for the renovation, give it to me first." No, I refused outright. I've saved the bonus for medical expenses. What illness could you possibly have? Su Mingwei rolled his eyes. I think you just don't want to give me the money on purpose. Think whatever you want. I couldn't be bothered to argue with him. Unexpectedly, the next day, Su Mingwei came straight to my workplace. He made a scene at the office door, shouting, "Lin Shuqin, get out here. Why won't you give me money for the renovation? Do you want me to never get married?" Colleagues gathered around to watch the commotion, pointing and whispering. I suppressed my anger and walked out. Su Mingwei, haven't you caused enough trouble? This is a workplace, not a place for you to throw a tantrum, eh? Tantrum. Su Mingwei grew even more agitated. I think you're just heartless. You've never bought me a single decent thing since I was a child, and now that I'm getting married, you can't even spare some money for the renovation. You don't deserve to be a mother. His words stabbed into my heart like knives. In my past life, I gave him everything I had, only to end up with such a judgment. Am I fit to be a mother? You know the answer in your heart. I took a deep breath, trying to calm myself down. I have the right to decide how to spend my own money. If you keep making a scene here, I'll call the police. Go ahead and call the police. Do you think I'm afraid of you? Su Mingwei craned his neck, putting on a shameless air. Just then, the female director walked over. Comrade, your loud disturbance is affecting our work. Please leave immediately, or we will take measures. Seeing it was a superior, Su Mingwei's arrogance deflated somewhat, but he still insisted stubbornly. I'm asking my mom for money. What business is it of yours? This is a workplace, not your home. If you disrupt our work, it becomes my business. The female director didn't mince words and called for security. Escort him out. As Su Mingwei was dragged out by the security guards, he kept cursing and grumbling. Watching his retreating figure, I felt no anger, only a profound sense of disappointment. A sum like that is not worth keeping. 14. After Su Mingwei was driven away, Su Jianjun finally couldn't hold it in any longer. As soon as he got home, he started cursing at me. Lin Shuqin, you're something else. You actually had the security guard kick your own son out. Do you think just because you're a minor leader at work, you don't recognize this family anymore? He was making a huge scene at my workplace, disrupting my work. Why shouldn't I have the guard throw him out? I looked at him coldly. He's your son. What's the big deal if he asks for money? What's the big deal if you give him some? Su Jianjun roared. Are you deliberately trying to stop him from getting married and make sure the Su family line dies out? Better to have no descendants at all than to raise an ungrateful brat. I shot back without backing down. You. Su Jianjun was shaking with rage and raised his hand to hit me. I didn't dodge, just stared at him coldly. Go ahead, hit me. If you dare lay a finger on me today, we'll get a divorce tomorrow, and I'll make sure you leave with nothing. Su Jianjun's hand froze in midair, and in the end, he didn't dare to bring it down. He knows I mean what I say. Lin Shuqin, you've changed. Su Jianjun put down his hand and looked at me with a complicated expression. You weren't like this before. You used to be so good to me and Mingwei, never willing to buy anything for yourself, always giving us the best. Yeah, I've changed. I let out a faint smile, a trace of bitterness in it. In my past life, I was too foolish. I treated you like treasures and myself like dirt. And what happened when I lay dying at home? You were still arguing over how to split my pension. Su Jianjun was stunned, probably not expecting me to say such things. I'm tired. I don't want to be your maid and ATM anymore. I looked at him. If you still want to live a decent life, then rein in your temper and stop expecting everything from me. If you don't want to, then let's get a divorce. With that, I turned and went back to the guest room, leaving Su Jianjun alone in the living room, staring blankly. I knew he needed time to digest those words, but I no longer cared what he thought. My life, my rules. 15. Wang Guiying heard that Su Mingwei had caused a scene at my workplace and was even thrown out by the security guards. The next morning, she was so furious that she hobbled over on her cane to confront me. This time, she didn't scold me. Instead, she plopped down on the floor and began wailing. Oh, how miserable my life is. My son married a heartless wife, and my grandson won't even help with the wedding. What's the point of living anymore? Her cries drew a crowd of neighbors who gathered to watch. They pointed and whispered among themselves, all eyes fixed on my house. Isn't this Su Jianjun's house? What's going on here? I heard his wife refused to give her son money for the renovation, and the old lady flew into a rage. Tisk, how could a mother be so heartless, not even helping with such a big event as her son's wedding? Hearing these murmurs, I knew Wang Guiying had achieved her goal. She wanted to force me to give in this way, making me lose face in front of the neighbors. In my past life, I was pushed back step by step by her like this, and in the end, I had no choice but to hand over the money. But now, I won't. I opened the door and coldly looked at Wang Guiying, who was wailing on the ground. Mom, if you want to cry, go cry at your own house. Don't make a scene at my doorstep. Wang Guiying didn't expect me to say that. Her crying stopped abruptly, and she stared at me blankly. The neighbors were also stunned by my words, and their murmurs grew louder. How can this daughter-in-law talk like that? Isn't she too unfilial? Exactly, no matter what, she's still an elder. I ignored their gossip and just looked at Wang Guiying. Get up, either come inside with me to talk, or leave, otherwise, I'll call the police and report you for causing a disturbance. Wang Guiying was frightened by my words. She never expected that I, who had always been so timid, would dare to call the police. She hesitated for a moment, but eventually stood up with the help of the neighbors, shot me a vicious glare, and walked away in frustration. Watching her retreating figure, I knew this battle was far from over, but I was already prepared. 16 Wang Guiying's crying and fussing didn't work, and Su Mingwei finally panicked. His girlfriend had already started urging him to renovate, but he didn't have a single cent in his hands. That evening, he took the initiative to knock on my door, lowered his head, and said in a tone tinged with flattery, Mom, I'm sorry, I was wrong before. I shouldn't have caused a scene at your workplace. I didn't say anything. Waiting for him to continue, Mom, I'm really still a bit short on the renovation money. Su Mingwei rubbed his hands together. Just lend me 20,000, just 20,000. Su Mingwei's voice was very low, carrying an unprecedented humility. I'll pay you back after I get my salary once I'm married. Really? I looked at his bowed head. This was the first time he had ever lowered his posture in front of me. In my past life, he always demanded money with an air of entitlement, as if I owed it to him. Why should I lend it to you? I leaned against the doorframe, my tone calm. Last time you said you needed 100,000, and when I didn't lend it, you came to my workplace to make a scene. This time it's 20,000. If I don't lend it, are you going to cause another scene? Su Mingwei's face instantly flushed red, and he stammered, No, Mom, I promise. This time I really won't. Your promises aren't worth much. I shook my head. And I've told you before, I'm saving my money for retirement, not lending it out casually. But I'm your son. Su Mingwei grew anxious, looking up at me with a hint of grievance in his eyes. Are you really going to watch me not be able to get married? If you can't get married, then wait a little longer, I said, looking at him. Get married when you've saved up enough yourself. No one says you have to get married right now. Su Mingwei's eyes dimmed, and he turned to leave. Wait, I called out to him. He turned around abruptly, a glimmer of hope flashing in his eyes. Mom, you agreed. I can lend you 10,000, I said, holding up one finger. But you need to write an IOU, put your fingerprint on it, pay it back within a year, and there will be interest. Su Mingwei's face instantly fell. I have to write an IOU, and pay interest. Why are you being so nitpicky? Even brothers settle accounts openly, let alone us when we can't even sort out our finances. I took out a pen and paper and placed them on the table. Either write the IOU and take the money, or leave. It's your choice. Su Mingwei stared at me for a long time, probably not expecting me to be so ruthless. In the end, he gritted his teeth. Fine, I'll write it. Watching him sign the IOU with crooked handwriting and press his fingerprint, I felt no stir in my heart. This wasn't cruelty, it was clarity. In my past life, it was precisely because I was too soft-hearted that I ended up losing both my money and my loved one. 17 Su Mingwei finally managed to barely finish decorating the wedding house with that 10,000 yuan and his own savings. The wedding was set for Labor Day. It wasn't a grand affair, but it followed all the proper procedures. As the groom's mother, I sat in the seat of honor, wearing a new dress and that gold bracelet. Su Jianjun frowned deeply at my outfit. Why are you dressed so flashy? People might mistake you for the bride. I'm the groom's mother. What's wrong with dressing decently? I smoothed my skirt. Or should I show up in patched clothes to embarrass you? Su Jianjun was left speechless and turned his face away sullenly. When the wedding reached the tea-serving ceremony, Su Mingwei, and his wife walked up to me with teacups in hand. "Mom, have some tea," his wife called out sweetly. I smiled as I took the teacup, then pulled out a red envelope from my bag and handed it over. "Wishing you both a happy marriage." Inside the red envelope was 2,000 yuan I had prepared, not much, but it was my heartfelt gesture. Unexpectedly, Wang Guiying suddenly jumped out, pointing at my red envelope and shouting, "Shu Qin, you're too stingy. The bride is offering tea for the first time, and you give this little." Back when I gave Mingwei's mother the address change fee, I gave 5,000. The relatives around immediately started whispering, their expressions turning strange. Su Mingwei's face also darkened, clearly feeling embarrassed. I looked at Wang Guiying, sneering inwardly. In my previous life, I gave 10,000 yuan as the address change fee, and she turned around and told the relatives I was too cheap and had given old bills. Now I give her 2,000, and she still thinks it's too little. "Mom, this is all I can afford." I smiled as I tucked the red envelope into the bride's hand. "It's the thought that counts, not the amount. Besides, this money is earned by me, clean and honest." Wang Guiying was choked by my words, her face turning red. She wanted to say more, but Su Jianjun held her back. "Mom, today is Mingwei's big day, let it go," Su Jianjun whispered in persuasion. Wang Guiying shot me a fierce glare before reluctantly shutting her mouth. After offering the tea, I was about to sit down when Su Mingwei suddenly grabbed me. "Mom, that gold bracelet of yours looks nice, let my wife wear it for a bit." I was taken aback for a moment, then realized he was trying to save face after the red envelope incident. "No," I refused outright. "I bought this myself. It's not for lending." Su Mingwei's face instantly turned ugly, and the relatives around began whispering among themselves again. I knew they were calling me stingy, but I didn't care. My things are mine to give to whomever I want, and if I don't want to, no one can take them away. 18. Not long after the wedding, Su Mingwei's wife started visiting our home frequently. One day she'd say she wanted to eat my braised pork, the next she'd ask me to wash a few pieces of clothing, and the day after that she'd say her mother wanted me to help clean the house. I knew exactly what she was up to. She just wanted me to serve her the way I used to serve Su Mingwei, but I didn't accept everything that came my way like I did in my previous life. "I'm working overtime today, so I don't have time to cook. My back isn't good, so I can't wash heavy clothes. I have my own things to do, no time to clean." After a few times, the smile on her face couldn't hold up anymore, and she started complaining to Su Mingwei about how hard I was to please. Su Mingwei came to me as expected. "Mom, can't you be nicer to my wife? She just married into the family, what's the harm in you, as her mother-in-law, taking a little more care of her?" "Why should I take care of her?" I retorted. "She's an adult, with hands and feet, she can take care of herself. Besides, I'm your mother, not her maid. Why are you being so unreasonable?" Su Mingwei got anxious. "Which mother-in-law doesn't help with childcare and housework? You're the only exception. Other families are other families. I am me." I looked at him. "I've done my duty by raising you. I have no obligation to support your wife too." Su Mingwei was left speechless by my words and stormed off angrily. A few days later, his wife found out she was pregnant. This gave Su Mingwei even more reason. "Mom, look. My wife is pregnant and having a rough time. Why don't you move in with us and take care of her?" "No," I refused without a second thought. "I'm fine living on my own. I don't want to move." "How can you be so heartless?" Su Mingwei glared at me. "That's your own grandchild. You're just going to ignore it." I didn't say I'd ignore it. I looked at him. "If she craves something, I can buy it. If she wants someone to talk to, I can keep her company. But I won't move in, and I definitely won't be a free babysitter." "You." Su Mingwei was so angry he couldn't speak. He turned around and went straight to Su Jianjun. Sure enough, Su Jianjun came to persuade me. "Shu Qin, Mingwei's wife having a baby isn't easy. Just make the effort and move in to help out. We're family, don't be so petty." "Petty?" I sneered. "When I was pregnant with Mingwei, did your mother ever come to take care of me for even a single day? I was heavily pregnant and still had to do laundry and cook. None of you cared about me back then. Now that she's pregnant, she's a treasure. When I was pregnant, I just had to suck it up." Su Jianjun was left speechless and walked away in frustration. I knew they wouldn't let it go easily, but I was already prepared. I can no longer pay the price for others' selfishness in my life. 19. Just as chaos was unfolding at home, good news came from work. The female director recommended me for a city-level skills training program, and upon my return, I would have a chance for a promotion and a raise. This news had me excited for days. In my previous life, I worked at the unit my entire career and never got such an opportunity. Every day was filled with monotonous tasks and a meager salary. Now, I finally have a chance to change my destiny. I told Su Jianjun and Su Mingwei the news, hoping to hear their opinions. To my surprise, Su Jianjun was the first to object. Training? At your age? Why bother with training? Can't you just stay home? Doesn't training cost money? The company reimburses the tuition and even provides a living allowance. I explained. That still won't work. Su Mingwei chimed in. My wife is pregnant and needs care. If you go for training, who will look after her? She has her own mother. And Su Mingwei. It's not up to me, the mother-in-law, to meddle. I looked at them. I'm not giving up this opportunity. Lin Shuqin, have you lost your mind? Su Jianjun roared. How much money can a promotion and raise bring? Is it more important than taking care of your grandchild? To me, this opportunity is more important than anything. I looked at them with unwavering determination. I've lived for you all long enough. Now, I want to live for myself for once. With that, I ignored their objections and began preparing the training materials. I know they won't understand, but I don't care. This is my life, and I have the right to choose my own path. 20. The day of the training soon arrived. I packed my bags and was about to head out when Su Jianjun suddenly stopped me. Are you really going? Yeah, I nodded. Fine, if you dare to step out of this house, don't ever come back, Su Jianjun threatened. Then I won't come back. I pulled open the door. I've had enough of this home for a long time. With that, I walked away without looking back. The training days were fulfilling. I absorbed new knowledge like a sponge and felt happy every day. During that time, Su Jianjun and Su Mingwei didn't call me even once. I knew they were still angry, but I didn't mind. In fact, I felt relieved. Without their interruptions, I could focus on my studies without having to read their expressions. A month later, I finished the training and returned home. As soon as I walked in, I smelled a sour stench. The living room was piled with trash, and Su Jianjun and Su Mingwei were lounging on the sofa playing video games, with cigarette butts and snack wrappers scattered all over the floor. Can't you at least clean up a bit? I frowned. Su Jianjun didn't even look up. Aren't you so capable? Aren't you going to live for yourself? Clean it up yourself. Su Mingwei chimed in. Exactly, we used to eat your cooking all the time. Now that you're not home, we have to order takeout, and you still have the nerve to blame us. Looking at their self-righteous faces, I felt a wave of disgust. Starting today, I'm moving out. I looked at them. I'm done living in this house. Su Jianjun and Su Mingwei were both stunned. What did you say? Su Jianjun stared at me in disbelief. I said I'm moving out. I repeated. I've already rented a place outside, and I'm leaving today. Lin Shuqin, have you lost your mind? Su Jianjun finally put down his game and stood up, glaring at me. Renting a place outside costs money, doesn't it? Are you out of your mind? It's my money, and I'll spend it however I want. I looked at him. Compared to the frustration of living with you, this rent is nothing. How can you be so heartless? Su Mingwei was also getting anxious. My wife is about to give birth, and you're moving out at a time like this. Is that appropriate? What's inappropriate about it? I looked at them. I'm not your maid, and I have no obligation to keep serving you. With that, I ignored their objections and started packing my things. Seeing them so furious, I felt no guilt at all, only a sense of relief and liberation. In this life, I could finally live for myself. 21. The day I moved into my new home, the sun was shining brightly. The apartment wasn't big, but it had great natural light. I bought new sheets and pillowcases, and even placed a few potted plants on the balcony. The whole place felt cozy and inviting. Living alone gave me freedom. I could live at my own pace. In the morning, I don't have to get up early to cook breakfast for them. In the evening, I can watch my favorite TV shows. On weekends, I can take a walk in the park or go shopping with friends. After paying rent and daily expenses, I could still save a portion of my salary, and occasionally even treat myself to a new piece of clothing or a nice meal. This kind of life was something I never dared to dream of in my previous life. At first, Su Jianjun and Su Mingwei kept calling to scold me, calling me selfish and heartless. I couldn't be bothered to respond. Later, when they saw how firm I was, they stopped calling. Occasionally, Su Mingwei would send me messages asking for money, saying the baby had been born and they needed to buy this and that. Each time, I only replied with one sentence: figure it out yourself. Gradually, he stopped sending messages too. When she heard that her daughter-in-law had given birth to a son, Wang Guiying was grinning from ear to ear, showing off in the neighborhood every day. When someone asked why I wasn't helping with the postpartum care, Wang Guiying would start wailing and complaining, saying I, as the mother-in-law, was cold and heartless, not caring about my grandson at all. People in the neighborhood were pointing fingers at me, but I didn't care. Their mouths are their own. They can say whatever they want. I'll just live my own life. 22 On the day of the grandson's 1-month celebration, Su Jianjun suddenly showed up at my door. He was wearing a faded jacket, his hair was a mess, and he looked much more haggard. Shu Qin, can you come back and take a look? Su Jianjun rubbed his hands together, his tone carrying a hint of flattery. It's the baby's 1-month celebration, and there are a lot of relatives at home, since you're not here. They keep asking questions. Why would I go back? I leaned against the doorframe. Aren't you the one saying I'm cold and heartless? I won't go and add to your troubles. We were wrong before. We shouldn't have said those things to you. Su Jianjun lowered his head. Just for the sake of the child, please come back once. The child is your grandson, not mine. I looked at him. You can celebrate however you want. Don't ask me. Su Jianjun's face instantly flushed red. He seemed to want to say something but ultimately held back and left dejectedly. Not long after, Su Mingwei also showed up. He was more direct than Su Jianjun. As soon as he entered, he said, Mom, my wife wants you to help take care of the kid. She's going to work. I don't have time. I refused outright. I still have to work and take care of myself. I don't have the time to look after a child. At your age, why are you still working? Su Mingwei grew anxious. Why not just retire early and enjoy taking care of your grandson? Whether I work or not is my own business. It has nothing to do with you. I looked at him. Taking care of the child is your responsibility, not mine. How can you be so unreasonable? Su Mingwei glared at me. Which grandmother doesn't take care of her grandchildren? You're the only exception. Other people are other people. And I am me. I looked at him. I've already fulfilled my responsibility by raising you. I have no obligation to take care of your children. Su Mingwei was left speechless by my words and stormed off in a huff. Watching their disappointed backs, I felt no guilt whatsoever. I've already sacrificed my whole life for them. In this lifetime, I just want to live for myself. 23 Thanks to my outstanding performance during the training, combined with my previous work experience, I was promoted to team leader, and my salary increased significantly. This news had me thrilled for days, and I deliberately bought myself a new necklace to celebrate. My colleagues all came to congratulate me, and Shaoli was especially envious. Sister Lin, you're amazing. I knew you'd get promoted. I smiled but said nothing. Only I knew how hard-earned this promotion was. It was not only a recognition of my work ability, but also an affirmation of my persistence in being myself. News of the promotion quickly reached Su Jianjun and Su Mingwei. They started contacting me frequently again, and their tone had become noticeably more polite. Su Jianjun said, Shu Qin, now that you've been promoted and have a higher salary, shouldn't you help out Mingwei? It's not easy for him to support a family alone. Su Mingwei said, Mom, now that you're a manager, can you pull some strings to get me a better job? My current job is too tiring and the pay is too low. Looking at their entitled attitudes, I found it utterly ridiculous. Back when I hadn't been promoted, they used to call me selfish and cold-blooded. Now that I've been promoted, they want to bask in my glory. My salary is earned by me. It has nothing to do with you. I refused outright. Find a job on your own. I don't have that kind of pull. After being rejected, they started calling me selfish again, but I no longer care. I know that no matter what I do, they will never be satisfied. Rather than belittling myself to please them, it's better to love myself well. 24 Probably due to long-term overwork and pent-up emotions, Su Jianjun suddenly fell ill and was hospitalized. Su Mingwei called me, his tone very impatient. Mom, Dad is in the hospital. You need to come and take care of him right away. I have to work. I don't have time. I refused outright. How can you be so heartless? Su Mingwei roared. That's your husband. Are you just going to let him die? He's your father. You can take care of him too. I looked out the window. Besides, he has medical insurance, so you don't need to worry about the hospital bills. I have to work and take care of the kids. When would I have time to go to the hospital? Su Mingwei said smugly. You'd better come now, or I'll go to your workplace and make a scene. Threatening me, I sneered inwardly. Go ahead, I said calmly. Let my colleagues see what kind of person you really are. Su Mingwei was left speechless, and hung up the phone in a huff. Later, I heard that Su Mingwei had hired a caregiver to look after Su Jianjun, but he thought the caregiver was too expensive and dismissed them after just a few days, only occasionally visiting the hospital himself. Su Jianjun was left alone in the hospital with no one to care for him, unable to even get enough to eat, and he lost a lot of weight. Wang Guiying wanted to take care of him, but she was old and in poor health herself, and after just a few days, she collapsed from exhaustion. Su Mingwei had no choice but to call me again, his tone much softer this time. Mom, I know I was wrong before. Please forgive me. Dad is really pitiful. Just go to the hospital and see him. I hesitated for a moment but eventually went to The hospital, not because I was soft-hearted, but because I felt that, after all, we had been married, and it would be hard to justify not going to see him. 25 Walking into the ward, I saw Su Jianjun lying on the hospital bed, his face sallow, his hair noticeably grayer, struggling to reach for a water glass on the bedside table. When he saw me come in, he froze for a moment, a flicker of surprise in his eyes, then quickly turned his face away, pretending not to have seen me. I walked over and handed him the cup of water. Thank you. His voice was hoarse, with a hint of awkwardness. What did the doctor say you have? I pulled up a chair and sat down. The usual problem, high blood pressure flared up, plus some early signs of a stroke. Su Jianjun took a sip of water. Nothing serious. If it's nothing serious, why are you in the hospital? I looked at him. From now on, smoke and drink less. And stop staying up all night playing mahjong. He didn't say anything, just stared silently at the ceiling. The ward was quiet, with only the steady beeping of the ECG monitor. After a while, Su Jianjun suddenly spoke up. Shu Qin, I know I wronged you in the past. I said nothing, waiting for him to continue. Mingwei has been spoiled by us. He doesn't know any better. Don't hold it against him. He sighed. During my time in the hospital, I realized how hard it is to have no one to take care of you. You used to keep everything at home in order, and I never had to worry about a thing. Yet I always took my temper out on you. His voice grew softer, tinged with regret. In my past life, when he was sick, I stayed by his bedside day and night, tending to his every need without a single complaint, but he never even said thank you. Now, all I did was hand him a glass of water, and he was already repenting. People are always like this. They only know how to cherish something once they've lost it. Let's not dwell on the past. I stood up. I have to go to work this afternoon. I'll take off now. These are some fruits I brought for you. Help yourself. I placed the fruit on the bedside table and turned to leave. Shu Qin, Su Jianjun called out to me. Could you move back in? I was taken aback and turned to look at him. I know I have no right to ask you. There was a hint of hope in his eyes. But it's really inconvenient for me to live alone. If you come back, even just to share meals, that would be fine. Impossible. I refused outright. I'm living well now and don't want to move back. Su Jianjun's eyes dimmed, and he said nothing more. Walking out of the hospital, the sunlight was a bit dazzling. I took a deep breath, feeling no stir in my heart. Some wounds, once inflicted, can never be healed. 26 After Su Jianjun was discharged from the hospital, his health was nowhere near what it used to be. He couldn't do heavy work anymore, nor could he stay up late playing mahjong like before. Su Mingwei's wife, seeing that Su Jianjun couldn't help out, had to take care of the child and work at the same time, complaining bitterly about how exhausted she was. One day, she suddenly showed up at my rented room and started crying the moment she walked in. Mom, I really can't take it anymore. Mingwei works overtime every day, your father-in-law is in poor health, and the baby keeps crying and fussing. I'm about to die from exhaustion all by myself. Looking at her haggard appearance, I felt not a shred of sympathy. In my past life, I helped her take care of the child, but she complained that I wasn't doing a good job and badmouthed me everywhere. This is your choice. I handed her a tissue. You were the one who wanted to get married and have kids. It's only right that you're tired, but I never expected it to be this exhausting. She wiped her tears. Mom, please help me. Move in with us. Take care of the baby, or even just help with the housework. I don't have time. I refused outright. I still have to go to work and take care of myself. At your age, why are you still working? She snapped. It's not like our family needs your salary. Can't you make a sacrifice for this family? I've sacrificed my whole life, and I don't want to do it anymore. I looked at her. My salary may not be much, but it's enough for me to live on without having to depend on anyone else. How can you be so selfish? She suddenly raised her voice. Are you just going to watch me work myself to death? Aren't you afraid people will call you cold and heartless? Let them say whatever they want. I looked at her. As long as I have a clear conscience, that's all that matters. Seeing that pleading with me was useless, she started crying again, going on about how hard she had it and how pitiful the child was. But I was determined not to give in. After crying for a long time with no effect, she had no choice but to storm off in a huff. Watching her retreating figure, I knew she would definitely go and complain to Su Mingwei and Su Jianjun, but I don't care. I've already given too much to this family. In this life, I just want to live for myself. 27 After I turned them down, Su Mingwei and his wife had an even harder time. Su Mingwei had to take an extended leave from work to stay home and take care of the kids, while Su Jianjun was responsible for cooking and housework. The two of them were run off their feet. I heard that because of his long leave, Su Mingwei was demoted at work and his salary took a big hit. His wife was constantly arguing with him, and their home was in complete chaos. Seeing her grandchildren struggling so much, Wang Guiying was frantic with worry but couldn't do anything to help. All she could do was sigh at home all day. Perhaps having truly tasted hardship, their attitude toward me slowly began to change. They no longer accused me of being selfish and cold-hearted like before. Instead, they occasionally call me to ask how I'm doing. Su Jianjun reminds me to put on more clothes when the weather changes, and Su Mingwei sends me a red envelope on my birthday. Although the amount isn't large, it's still a change. One day, Su Jianjun suddenly called me, his tone very gentle. Shu Qin, are you free tonight? I made your favorite braised pork. Come home for dinner. I was stunned for a moment, a bit surprised. In my past life, he had never cooked for me voluntarily, let alone made braised pork. I have to work overtime tonight. I don't have time. I made an excuse. What about tomorrow? I'll make it for you again tomorrow, he persisted. I hesitated for a moment but eventually agreed maybe I should give them a chance, and give myself 1-28. The next evening, I bought some fruit and returned to that home, both familiar and unfamiliar. As soon as I entered, I caught the aroma of braised pork. Su Jianjun was busy in the kitchen wearing an apron, while Su Mingwei was playing with the child in the living room. Seeing me come in, Su Mingwei froze for a moment, then said somewhat awkwardly, Mom, you're here. I nodded and placed the fruit on the table. Have a seat, dinner will be ready soon. Su Jianjun poked his head out of the kitchen, a smile on his face. The table was laden with dishes, all of which were my favorites: braised pork belly, sweet and sour ribs, steamed fish. Looking at these dishes, I felt a mix of emotions. In my past life, I cooked for them every day, yet I rarely got to eat what I liked. Now that they prepared a whole table of dishes for me, I find it a bit hard to get used to during the meal. Su Jianjun kept putting food on my plate. Shu Qin, eat more. You've lost quite a bit of weight lately. Su Mingwei also said something rare and soft. Mom, I was immature before and always made you angry. Don't take it to heart. Watching them act so cautiously, I felt a little uneasy inside. Maybe they truly realized they were wrong. Let's not dwell on the past, I said with a smile. Let's just live well from now on. Su Jianjun and Su Mingwei both breathed a sigh of relief, smile spreading across their faces. After the meal, Su Mingwei's wife took the initiative to clear the dishes, while Su Mingwei chatted with me, asking about my work. Watching them busying about, I suddenly felt a hint of warmth in this home. Perhaps being reborn isn't just about changing my own fate, but also giving them a chance to turn over a new leaf. 29. When Wang Guiying heard that I had come home, she made a special trip to see me. Instead of scolding me like before, she took my hand and sighed. Shu Qin, I know I was wrong in the past, always nitpicking at you. Don't hold it against me. Looking at her gray hair and stooped figure, I felt a wave of emotion. In my previous life, she had always treated me poorly, and even on my deathbed, she was still complaining that I hadn't left her much inheritance. Mom, let's not bring up the past, I smiled. As long as you're healthy, that's what matters. Healthy, what's so good about it? I'm old and useless now. Wang Guiying sighed. I used to think you were stingy and unwilling to spend money, but now I realize you were just good at managing your finances. Mingwei and his wife spend money like water, can't save a penny, and live from hand to mouth. It worries me just watching them. Young people have their own way of living, let them figure it out on their own. I comforted her. You're still the sensible one. Wang Guiying patted my hand. Shu Qin, look at how tough things are for Mingwei and his wife now. Why don't you help them out? You have a high salary and you're a manager. Can't you pull some strings to get Mingwei a better job? Here we go again. I sighed inwardly. A leopard can't change its spots. Mom, he has to work for his own career. I can't help with that. I refused outright. My salary may be high, but I earned it through hard work. I need to save it for retirement. I can't just dip into it whenever. Wang Guiying's expression immediately soured, but unlike before, she didn't lose her temper. She just sighed and said, well, it's your money, you decide. Seeing her dejected look, I knew she was still holding a grudge against me, but I didn't care. I've long passed the age where I need to please others to gain approval. 30. As days went by, my relationship with Su Jianjun and Su Mingwei gradually eased. They no longer made demands of me like before, and occasionally even took the initiative to care about me. Su Jianjun would call me on weekends to ask if I wanted to come home for dinner. When I was sick, Su Mingwei would bring the kids to visit me and buy me some fruit and nutritional supplements. Although there was still some distance between us, it was much better than before. One day, I came home from work and found both Su Jianjun and Su Mingwei in my rented apartment. They were holding a large cake in their hands, with smiles on their faces. Happy birthday, Mom, Su Mingwei said with a smile. I was taken aback for a moment before remembering that today was my birthday. In my previous life, I had never celebrated a birthday. They didn't even remember it. How did you know today is my birthday? I asked, somewhat surprised. Dad told me, Su Mingwei said with a smile. We specially bought you a cake to celebrate your birthday. Su Jianjun also smiled and said, Shu Qin, make a wish and blow out the candles. Looking at the sincere smiles on their faces, a sudden warmth surged in my heart. Maybe they really have changed. I closed my eyes and silently made a wish. I hope that in this life, we can all live well. After blowing out the candles, Su Mingwei suddenly took out a box and handed it to me. Mom, this is a gift from me and my wife. I opened the box and found a necklace inside. The design was simple but looked very delicate. It's too expensive. You shouldn't have spent this money. I felt a bit embarrassed. It's not expensive. It's just our way of showing we care. Su Mingwei said with a smile. Mom, you used to save money for us and never bought anything for yourself. From now on, we're going to take good care of you. Looking at their sincere eyes, I suddenly felt that all my efforts had been worth it. 31. From then on, our relationship grew better and better. Su Mingwei worked hard and soon got a promotion. Along with a significant raise, his wife stopped complaining and devoted herself to taking care of the children and the household. Su Jianjun quit smoking and drinking, and every morning he would go for a walk in the park. His health improving steadily. Wang Guiying rarely came to cause trouble for me anymore, and occasionally she would visit, bringing me some vegetables she had grown herself. I still worked at my job, which was tough but fulfilling. I bought a small apartment with my own salary, not big, but enough for me to live in on my own. On weekends, Su Jianjun and Su Mingwei would bring the kids to visit me. We'd cook together, chat, watch TV, and enjoy a warm, happy time together. They no longer made demands of me like before, but instead treated me like the family treasure, always thinking of me. Su Mingwei would buy me new clothes and health supplements, his wife would cook my favorite dishes, and Su Jianjun would accompany me for walks in the park. Watching them busying around, I suddenly felt that being reborn was truly wonderful. I was no longer that worn-out woman who sacrificed everything for the family, but a woman cherished by her family. I finally understood that no matter when, a woman must love herself well. Only when you take care of yourself will others love and respect you. Under the setting sun, I sat on the balcony, gazing at the myriad lights of homes outside the window, a happy smile spreading across my lips. In this lifetime, I have finally become the person I wanted to be. The end. Story 2. I am the canary kept by the bigwig. He is generous and willing to spoil my little temper. However, I flew away when he loved me the most. He gritted his teeth and swore, Mary, if I'm bewitched by you again, I'll be your grandson. Later, unable to bear the torture of missing me, he went to a small town thousands of kilometers away to find me. The always noble John family's person in power coaxed me in a low voice. Lady, leave that scumbag. I'll be the father of your 2 children and give them all my property. Why are you crying? The man's voice was hoarse and low, and he gently bit my ear bone. I weakly crawled outwards. He raised his hand and grabbed my ankle, dragging me back under him. Doesn't my darling seem to welcome me back? He was dissatisfied. I pounded his chest, my voice already hoarse from shouting. John, I've welcomed you for hours. Isn't that enough? Not enough. He held my face and kissed away the falling tears one by one. It's never enough. I know that the more I resist, the more excited John becomes. He just likes to tease me and watch me get angry but unable to escape his palm. So I calmed down and hooked my arm around his neck, softly begging for mercy. Please stop. I'm really tired. You've also taken a flight for more than 10 hours and need to rest. John's dark eyes were deep, and he began to think seriously. After a few seconds, he seemed to agree with me. He lay on his side beside me, his fingertips entwined with my sweaty hair. I'll come back earlier to have dinner with you tomorrow and you'll make up for what you owe me then. His eyes were gloomy. I was so weak that I didn't even have the strength to speak. I mumbled an and snuggled into his arms. John rubbed me into his arms, but his body tensed up again. After coaxing me to sleep, he took a cold shower in the bathroom before going to bed. I am the canary kept by John. Every time he comes back from a business trip, he is like a hungry wolf and is extremely demanding. I'm pretty sure he doesn't have other women. However, I never dreamed of being with him forever, because I'm just a cannon fodder female supporting role. I'm a tool for him to solve his strong physical needs before the female lead comes back. Later, when the female lead who went abroad for further study returned to China, John immediately cut off all ties with the female supporting role. The female supporting role, who should have disappeared after getting a huge compensation, was unwilling to be used and abandoned. She began to pester the male lead and frame the female lead. However, The wise male lead easily saw through the true face of the female supporting role. To avenge the female lead, he sold the female supporting role to the underground trading market. I in the novel got a dirty disease and died a miserable death. Don't touch me. I had the same nightmare again. In the dream, the wretched man with a distorted smile stretched out his crooked hands and claws and approached me. I called John for help, but he looked indifferent and left with the female lead in his arms, leaving me to be bullied and humiliated. I woke up in shock, and my nightgown as thin as a cicada's wing was soaked with cold sweat. The lace skirt was torn by John last night. I wrapped myself in a down quilt so that I wouldn't shiver from the cold. This nightmare has haunted me for a long time. As the female lead's return is getting closer and closer, my fear is growing stronger and stronger. John has always been self-disciplined. Even though he was up until midnight last night, he still went to the company early today. The phone rang and he sent me a message. The gifts are in the cloakroom. Look at them after eating. Be good and don't lose weight. Wait for me to come back at night. I ran to the cloakroom barefoot. 3 limited edition bags were neatly placed on the dressing table. Diluting the gloom of the nightmare, I took the bags and took several selfies with poses and sent them to John. He quickly replied to me, "Darling, don't tempt me. You're not wearing shoes again. Are you itchy?" I immediately thought of the scene where John caught me not wearing shoes once and angrily pressed me on his lap and spanked me. My ears turned red and I immediately replied to him with a naughty expression. "I'll put them on right away." After replying, I didn't leave the cloakroom. Instead, I sent the photos of the bags to the second-hand luxury dealer I had long-term cooperation with. The other side repeatedly confirmed with me, "These are all limited editions that just hit the market and can't be bought even with a markup. Are you sure you want to sell them?" I replied, "Sure, I'm short of money." The other side immediately replied, "Okay, I'll transfer the money to you according to the previous rules." After finishing these, I wrapped a shawl and went downstairs to the dining room on the first floor. Nanny has watched John and the female lead Alice grow up since childhood. Just like all the NPCs in the novel, she is crazy about this couple, so she has always disliked me. Seeing me coming downstairs slowly, she said in a strange tone, "The young master has been running around outside early in the morning. While some people sleep until the sun is high in the sky and really regard themselves as the mistress, when serving the dishes, the sound of the plates landing on the marble table was very loud, showing Nanny's unhappy mood. I consumed too much energy last night. I was starving just now, but now I have no appetite." I heated a cup of milk by myself and was about to go upstairs. Suddenly, the news, "Genius painter Alice returns to China today," was broadcast on TV. Nanny was afraid that I wouldn't hear it and turned the volume up to the maximum. I stopped on the stairs and turned to look at the TV. In the picture, Alice in an elegant long dress appeared at the airport and the man John, who was still intimate with me last night, personally picked her up. John stood upright with a cold face and took Alice's suitcase. Alice stood in front of him, looking up with affectionate eyes and said, "John, did you miss me?" I didn't hear what John said because Nanny was so excited that her high-pitched voice was choked with sobs. God. The young master finally looks forward to Miss Alice's return. The lovers finally get married. Some people should take the initiative to leave if they have self-awareness. Her contemptuous eyes slanted and fell on my face. The meaning was self-evident. I lowered my eyes sadly and was a bit distracted. I didn't expect Alice to return half a year earlier. Has the storyline advanced? It seems that my escape plan also needs to be advanced. I didn't care about the milk and called a black car driver. The destination was a small town thousands of kilometers away. John has always been generous. The pocket money he gave me plus the money I got from selling bags and jewelry is enough for me to live without worry for the rest of my life. I know that according to the plot design, John will be with Alice tonight and won't come back. After all, when the white moonlight appears, the sense of existence of the substitute will be minimized, so I have plenty of time to run away. I changed my clothes and, like nesting dolls, put big bags inside small bags and carried the 3 limited edition bags out. Nanny was cracking melon seeds with a sarcastic smile on her lips. "Where are you going?" "Going shopping." "Spit out the vixen. You only know how to spend the young master's money all day long." Nanny spat the melon seed shells into the air. John had a meeting in the morning and used his lunch break to pick up Alice at the airport. After all, the two grew up in the same compound and his mother specifically told him to be polite. After John sent Alice home, Alice originally asked him to stay for a while, but John wanted to finish the work at hand as soon as possible and hurried back to the company. During the busy work, he picked up his phone several times. He wanted to see if the little bird at home had called him. However, he raised a heartless little bird except when receiving gifts. She never took the initiative to contact him on weekdays. She didn't have the slightest awareness of being a girlfriend. She neither asked about his whereabouts nor checked on him. Just like this time, he was on a business trip for half a month and missed her so much that he asked her to accompany him, but she said that she didn't want to affect his work. I really don't know if she is sensible or heartless. Now looking at the empty phone screen, John smiled bitterly. Sure enough, she's a little heartless one. In the afternoon, Alice called him to attend her welcome banquet, but he was thinking about the little fairy at home and declined the invitation and rushed home after work. On the way, he bought the red spider lilies that Mary liked the most. The enchanting and charming red color, swaying and graceful, was very much like her. Where's Mary? He asked. Nanny replied politely. She went shopping early in the morning and hasn't come back yet. John smiled helplessly. He clearly said that he would come back early, but she still went out. When she comes back, he'll see how to deal with her. I'll take a nap first. Wake me up when Mary comes back. Mary took off the torn nightgown and threw it casually at the head of the bed. John lay beside her and slept soundly. The tip of his nose was filled with Mary's fragrance and his dream was full of Mary's cute and charming appearance, making his breathing unsteady. But at the end of the dream, Mary's smile disappeared and her eyes were like ice. When she looked at him, her eyes were full of hatred that seemed to swallow him up. John woke up with a headache. It was pitch black outside the window. John looked at the time and it was already over 9 o'clock. Mary, he called subconsciously. After calling several times, Nanny answered outside the door. Miss Mary went shopping and hasn't come back yet. I really don't know how much she needs to buy. John felt a bit stuffy in his chest and called Mary, but a cold mechanical voice came. Sorry, the number you dialed is empty. He sensed something was wrong and immediately checked the cloakroom. Mary's clothes were all there, but the precious bags and jewelry were all gone, including the 3 bags he just bought. John realized that something was wrong and urgently ordered his assistant, immediately contact the Ministry of Communications and stop Mary by any means and bring her back to me. The night was dark, like a big curtain pressing down from the sky, making people feel stuffy in the heart. John stood silently by the window, looking into the endless darkness, with an oppressive coldness all around him. Behind him were a dozen trembling servants. If Mary comes back unharmed, you'll at most be poor for the rest of your lives. If she loses a single hair, I'll make your life a living hell. Everyone was scared out of their wits. Nanny has worked in the John family for nearly 20 years and thought she was an old-timer. She bravely stepped forward. Young master, now that Miss Alice has returned, why are you still looking for that vixen? She only knows how to spend your money every day. How can she compare with Miss Alice, who is from a famous family and is well educated and reasonable? John slowly turned his head and his eyes were as terrifying as if they were real. Vixen, is that what you usually call her? The murderous look in his eyes was intimidating and Nanny staggered back a few steps, stammering and too scared to speak for a long time. What the hell are you? John said word by word through gritted teeth. He never thought that the darling he held in his palm and was reluctant to even speak loudly to would be looked down upon by the servants like this. What's wrong with Mary spending his money? Isn't he earning money for her to spend? He didn't even dare to think about what would happen if he didn't have money and Mary didn't like him. He gave his subordinates a look and said in an indifferent tone, take her away and let her see her place. Nanny was instantly scared out of her wits. She had heard of John's cruelty. It's just that in recent years, because John always spoiled Mary and no matter how Mary threw tantrums, he spoiled and indulged her as if he had no temper. Nanny also forgot John's nature. He took over the family business at a young age and killed all those who coveted the John family's property and stood in this position today. Now, seeing the bloodthirsty scarlet in John's eyes, Nanny panicked and predicted that she was in great danger. She was about to scream when someone stuffed a rag into her mouth and dragged her out like a rag until late at night. There was still no news of Mary. John clenched his fists tightly and the veins on his forehead bulged. He extremely suppressed his emotions to prevent himself from exploding. At this time, the servant said that Miss Alice had come. John frowned. Miss Alice, I have other things to deal with now. I'm sorry I can't accompany you. Alice grabbed John's sleeve. Look at these pictures. John almost couldn't control his irritability. He didn't like others touching him, except for Mary. No one dared to touch him usually. He unceremoniously brushed off Alice's hand. A hint of gloom crossed Alice's eyes, but she persisted in handing the pictures to him. It's about Mary. John froze instantly. Before Alice could speak again, he took the pictures. The pictures were indeed of Mary, recording her from college to now. Mary in college was shyly leaning in the arms of her first boyfriend. Later, the two broke up and Mary met John. However, she never cut off contact with her first boyfriend and the two often met privately. Yesterday morning, Mary left home furtively and entered an alley where her first boyfriend was waiting for her, opened the car door for her and Left with her, John suddenly seemed to lose all his strength and staggered and almost fell, and the pictures also scattered on the ground. Alice said at the right time, "John, that woman is only after your money. Maybe she has been using your money to support other men. Do you still want to find such a woman?" John's eyes were blank and dull, and his heartache twisted into an unresolvable scar. Mary really doesn't like him, so she doesn't care about his whereabouts, doesn't get jealous of other women, and rarely loses her temper with him. She's so obedient just because what she wants is not him. She's really heartless. He restrained his hostility and dedicated thousands of tenderness to her, but still couldn't move her heart. John has always been able to plan and succeed in everything, but now in front of feelings, he has to admit defeat and embarrassment. He waved his hand, "Call the people back." Then, his eyes were filled with gloomy coldness, and he said to himself, "Mary, run away as far as you can and don't let me see you again, otherwise, I don't know what crazy things I'll do." Rose is my first boyfriend. After being with me, he found out that he was gay later. We became sisters this time. He helped me arrange the car for my escape. Everything went smoothly during the day, but there was a traffic jam in front when we were about to get off the highway at night. It seems that they are looking for a woman with a huge reward. Rose and I looked at each other in dismay and were too scared to breathe. We had to move forward with the traffic flow, but when it was almost our turn, the staff in uniform suddenly shouted, "Withdraw, withdraw." After working all night, the bigwig said not to look for her anymore. Obviously, I should have been relieved, but my heart felt like I had drunk lemon juice, sour and astringent. "John, you gave up on me so easily. The female supporting role is really dispensable and unimportant." I wiped the moisture from the corners of my eyes. "Let's go." 4 years later, late at night, under the lamp, I was red-eyed from making kindergarten handicrafts, and it was 2 copies. I was crying while making them and felt extremely wronged. Who would have thought that I got pregnant after that crazy night? And it was twins. I have a cold constitution, and the old Chinese doctor said that it's extremely difficult for me to get pregnant in my life. Originally, John always took contraceptive measures, but after occasionally experiencing the pleasure without obstruction and getting used to it, I couldn't accept that rubber membrane anymore. There was no problem for several years. I didn't expect to get pregnant the last time, and it was 2 at once. I have a cold and immune constitution. An old Chinese doctor once said that it would be extremely difficult for me to get pregnant in my life. Originally, John always took contraceptive measures, but once in a while, when I got a taste of the unobstructed pleasure, after that, I just couldn't stand the feeling of that rubbery thing anymore. For several years, nothing went wrong. Unexpectedly, I got pregnant the last time, and it was twins at once. While spreading glue on the colored paper, I cursed John to be impotent for the rest of his life. He could still be a carefree single nobleman after pulling up his pants, while I got out of bed and became a single mom taking care of 2 kids. Why is it always women who get hurt? Rose sent me a news link, followed by a voice message. "Honey, your former sugar daddy is getting engaged." On my phone, Alice was holding an art exhibition and John went to cut the ribbon. Standing together, they were a perfect match, both talented and good-looking. Alice smiled happily in front of the camera and said, "John and I will hold an engagement ceremony next month." Shocked, my hand trembled, and I accidentally cut the paper airplane I just glued together. I had to start over. Immediately, I started crying even louder. I thought I could seal my heart, lock away my love, and leave completely. But when I heard the news of John's engagement, I still felt a deep, stabbing pain. Those years of being together day and night, all the intimate moments, had truly happened between him and me. How could they be so easily forgotten? Now, the plot of the male and female leads is developing as it was set. John should have completely gotten over me, right? This vicious female supporting character, could survive until now, all because I knew the plot in advance and managed to escape from the male lead in time. I called Rose. "Rose, I need to go on a business trip for 2 days. Can you look after the kids for me?" Rose was speechless. "Just say you want me to watch the kids. How come you, a secretary, are always going on business trips?" "It's for real this time," I said. "My boss is going to Beijing to negotiate a cooperation, allegedly. The leader of the other party is extremely difficult to deal with and doesn't take our small company seriously at all. But my boss has the ambition to go public in 3 years, so he decided to make this trip himself. Since I'm the prettiest secretary in the company, he likes to bring me along on these occasions, saying it makes the company look more prestigious. He promised me a promotion and a raise if the deal goes through. I haven't dared to go back to Beijing in recent years, but now that John is getting engaged, there shouldn't be any more intersections between us. I got quite a lot of money from John back then, but who would have thought that with These two money-guzzling kids, money just flows out like water. Because of them, my career ambitions have been sparked, I said. Boss, I won't do anything that involves selling my looks. I have 2 kids at home, and they can't grow up without a mom. Mary, don't worry, I'm a law-abiding citizen. He patted his chest to assure me. After giving birth, my body seemed to have a second growth spurt. The curvy parts got even curvier, the slender parts more slender, and my figure was more alluring. I wore a form-fitting red dress and entered a private room with my boss. A representative of the other party, who knew my boss well, asked in confusion, "Jack, why did you bring such a beautiful secretary?" My boss chuckled. "Since heroes have always had a weakness for beauties, I thought having Mary toast your boss a glass of wine might seal the deal." The other person laughed. "Jack, you've got the wrong idea this time. Our President John is not interested in women, and he's about to get engaged anyway." President John, engaged. My heart skipped a beat. Could it be such a coincidence? The private room was noisy. I craned my neck, struggling to look through the crowd. In the middle of the sofa, sitting like a king surrounded by people, was a noble man. Under the flickering lights, the outline of his side face was sharp and angular, his eyes deep-set, showing no emotions, but exuding the intimidating aura of someone in power. It was none other than John. He had a calm expression. Listening to the man on his right reporting, seeming to sense my gaze, John lifted his cold eyes. For a moment, our eyes met. My boss, hearing what the other representative said, realized his miscalculation and was quite discouraged. He was about to let me go back. I took the chance to escape, but John gently hooked his finger, the corner of his lips curving into a dangerous arc. "Come here." In the private room, although it seemed lively, everyone actually kept an eye on John while chatting. When John suddenly spoke, everyone stopped what they were doing. The room was so quiet that you could hear a pin drop. Everyone followed John's line of sight. My boss couldn't believe it and asked with a pleasantly surprised look, "Me?" John said faintly, "You go back. Someone will contact you to sign the contract. Leave her here." My boss immediately beamed. "Thank you, President John." "Mary, perform well. The company will give you a bonus if this works out." Then, without caring about my fate at all, he rushed out the door, afraid that John would change his mind. So much for being law-abiding. Bosses are all liars. The door of the private room closed. With no way out, I reluctantly sat down beside John under everyone's gaze. He continued listening to the man on his right reporting, as if he had forgotten about my existence. I secretly grabbed a few pistachios. In the past, when I accompanied John to business dinners, while he was talking about business, I'd snack on the side, even though he was chatting with others coldly, seemingly fully focused. Whenever I eyed a snack that I couldn't reach, he'd always stretch out his long arm, put the delicious treat into my palm, and give my fingertips a little pinch. Tonight, the pistachios were hard to crack. It took me a while to get a few into my mouth. John suddenly turned around. "Didn't your boss bring you here for PR? Are you waiting for me to toast you?" I quickly put down the half-cracked pistachio and picked up my wine glass. "President John, I'd like to toast you." He leaned back against the sofa, narrowing his eyes slightly. "Toast me for what?" "Toast you. Wish you a happy engagement." John's lips curved upwards, his smile deepening, but his eyes showed even more coldness. With his slender fingers, he picked up the red wine beside him and poured it into a row of goblets one by one. "Whether I'm happy about my engagement depends on how sincere you are with this toast." He pointed at the row of red wine. I peeked at him cautiously. "Just drinking is okay, don't I need to?" John snorted. "What kind of person does Miss Mary take me for? Do you think I'd be interested in a brainless bimbo like you?" My eyes instantly felt sour, and I forced back my tears. I picked up the first glass and downed it in one go. "With your noble status, President John, you surely look down on me, because I drank too quickly." The wine choked into my throat, and I coughed while clutching my chest. John stared at me coldly. "Mary, playing the victim won't work on me. I won't feel sorry for you." "I know." I picked up the second glass and gulped it down. "I didn't mean to play the victim, nor did I expect you to feel sorry for me. I'm just a vicious female supporting character. Being humiliated as cannon fodder is my fate. Now that the white moonlight is back, how could John possibly feel sorry for me?" John's face grew even darker, his jawline tense, his eyes deep and gloomy. "Mary, beg me, and maybe I'll let you go. I beg you." I complied without hesitation. I've always had a poor alcohol tolerance. After 2 glasses, I felt dizzy and my face was burning. If I drank too much and something uncontrollable happened, no one here could save me. "Do I need to teach you how to beg?" John's voice was cold and smooth, without a hint of warmth. digging my nails into my palms. I bit my lip. Although I felt humiliated, I had to compromise. I stood up, straddled John's lap, and leaned down to press my lips against his slightly cold ones. John's body tensed up instantly but didn't move, showing no response. He signaled with his eyes for me to continue. I placed my hands on his chest, my cheek close to his, my warm breath on his ear, and begged softly, "John, please, let me go." "That's it," he scoffed. I had to lower my head again. John has a bit of a masochistic streak. He likes it when I bite him, his lips, the tip of his tongue, his Adam's apple, and his collarbone. These parts can all trigger strong reactions from him. He always looks cold and abstinent, with his shirt buttons fastened all the way to the top. In fact, he's really a closet flirt. He can't resist the slightest provocation. I lowered my head, and my teeth touched his Adam's apple. "There are so many people watching," I said shyly, feeling the rise and fall of John's chest. I didn't want to continue. John took a deep breath. With a large hand, he scooped me up from under my knees. Before I could react, my body was already in the air and landed in John's arms. Instinctively, I wrapped my arms around his neck and buried my face in his chest. John used to be so gentle, but now he's so fierce and ruthless. When I was thrown onto the bed, the red wine in my stomach was sloshing around, making my eyes teary, and I cried out in surprise. John unfastened his tie with one hand while roughly kissing me, tying my hands up and raising them above my head. "John, it hurts. Endure it," he said coldly. He was not the least bit gentle, forcefully parting my legs. His body was hot, his muscles solid, and his eyes blazing with intense desire, as if he wanted to devour me alive. I tremblingly reached out and grabbed the collar of his shirt, seeming surprised by my initiative. John stared at me with burning eyes. "Can you be a bit gentler?" I pleaded pitifully. John's eyes showed a bit of interest, waiting for me to keep acting cute. I bit my lower lip and summoned the courage. "I'm afraid of getting marks on my body and being discovered by my husband." The rising heat seemed to cool down in an instant. The desire in John's eyes was replaced by shock, and finally turned into self-mockery. He pinched my chin, forcing me to look at him. With his other hand, he hooked the messy shoulder straps of my dress back up in a dejected and wanton gesture. "Mary, this is the last time. If I'm ever bewitched by you again, I'll be your grandson." Anger burst from his deep eyes, and I even suspected that he could strangle me in the next second. But when he saw the pool of tears in my eyes due to the pain, he unconsciously loosened his grip on my chin. Endless pain flooded his eyes. He murmured, "Did you look at him like this when you were in bed with him?" Forget it, don't say it, I'm not interested." John rolled off the bed, his back to me, and said in a commanding tone, "I'm getting engaged next month. You're coming." "Do I have to?" "If you dare not come, I'll kill that man in minutes." Right after John left, Alice came. She banged on the door. When she saw that I was the only one in the room, she was clearly stunned. "Where's John?" "President John arranged for me to stay here and then left." Alice cursed. "Mary, have you no shame? John is about to get engaged to me, and you're back to pester him. John only regarded you as my substitute. Now that I'm back, do you think he'd still fancy a parasitic woman like you?" I lowered my head and admitted my fault. Yes. Of course he wouldn't. Miss Alice is like the bright moon in the clouds, while I'm just the mud underfoot. How could I compare to you? Miss Alice, please don't get angry because of me. Don't lower yourself to my level. It's not worth getting your hands dirty. Alice was left speechless as I stole her lines. She stood there for a while before finding her voice again. "At least you know your place. John is not someone you can dream of." Yes. Alice's final departing look was very puzzling. She probably had never seen someone like me who was so eager to self-deprecate and admit faults actively. But what else could I do? I thought that escaping to this remote small town would allow me to safely hide until the end of the story. But now, the three of us are intertwined again, and in the end of this entanglement, the outcome of the female supporting character getting hurt alone is about to come true. So, I can only take the initiative to back off, not make Alice see me as a thorn in her side, and avoid all conflicts. The company's project was successfully negotiated, and I returned safely to the small town. I got my share of the bonus, and my position was promoted, but my workload also increased. After work, I dragged my exhausted body to pick up my 2 kids from kindergarten. My sister said her stomach hurt. I carried her in my right arm, holding the groceries in the same hand, and held my brother's hand with my left, already completely worn out. My brother suddenly threw a tantrum and refused to walk, insisting that I carry him. 2. I tried to pick him up, but I lost my balance, and the three of us fell to the ground together. I shielded my sister in my arms. My brother and I both got scrapes. The grievance in my heart reached its peak at this moment. I hugged one kid with each arm and sat on the ground, crying like a fool. The two kids cried along with me. My brother sensibly touched my face with his small hand. Mom, I'm sorry. I won't let you carry me anymore. My tears flowed even more freely. I wanted to tell him that Mom just needed to cry for a while to feel better. But I opened my mouth for a long time, only to be choked up and unable to say a word. It was at this moment that John appeared. I was sitting on the vegetable leaves, holding the two kids, looking extremely wretched. John was in a custom-made suit, looking imposing, his leather shoes polished brightly. He frowned and asked, "Where's your husband?" "On a business trip." I wiped away my tears. "With two kids at home, what kind of business trip is he on?" I thought he was going to mock me when I was down. After all, according to the novel's plot, when I was bullied by that pervert, he just walked away without looking back. John crouched down rather indignantly and reached out to my brother and sister. "Your mom is tired. Can Uncle hold you for a while?" The two kids shrank into my arms. John forced a smile, a gentle look on his usually stern face. "Uncle is not a bad guy. I'm a friend of your mom's." My brother looked at me, and I nodded, mainly because I really had no strength left, and the scrape on my arm hurt. My brother first stretched out his chubby arms and climbed into John's arms. My sister followed suit and got into the other side. John picked up the two kids and sighed helplessly. "These two kids together weigh 60 pounds. You used to complain about being tired when asked to do a little work. Now you're quite capable." I caught the hidden meaning in his "do a little work" and blushed, scolding him. "Don't talk nonsense in front of my kids," he snorted. "Why aren't you getting up? I can't carry three of you. Who asked you to carry me?" My feet are numb." I lowered my head, wishing I could disappear into a crack in the ground. John was silent for a few seconds, then stood in front of me. I looked up, following his shiny black leather shoes, up along his long legs wrapped in suit pants, and met his inky black eyes. He didn't say anything, but perhaps because of the tacit understanding we had built over the years, I raised my arm, hugged his right leg, and used the strength to stand up. I must have looked like a clumsy monkey. My sister, who developed her language skills early, saw this and said, "Mom doesn't let us hug your thigh. Why can you hug Uncle's thigh?" I managed to stand up and quickly distanced myself from John. "You hug my legs to act cute. It's different for me." John chuckled, seemingly in a good mood. "You look even more like you're acting cute." I was so embarrassed that I didn't know what to do. Then my brother said, "Uncle is taller than Dad. I can see farther." John's face, which had been smiling secretly just now, turned completely dark. John helped me carry the kids home. I first checked the injuries of the two children and put some medicine on them. I was about to go into the kitchen when John was puzzled. "Don't you need to deal with the scrape on your arm?" "It's okay. I'll make dinner for them first," John said unhappily. "Come here." When he was angry, he frowned, his lips pursed tightly, looking really intimidating, so I obediently sat down. John rolled up my sleeve, revealing the large scrape on my elbow. John frowned, his brows knitted with anger, and he used a cotton swab to clean it for me. I hissed in pain. "Now you know it hurts." I pouted. I knew it hurt all along, but what could I do? John put some iodine on it for me, looking straight at me. "So you like that man that much? You left the villa and came to this poor, remote place, making yourself so miserable. Love is all you need. Haven't you heard of that?" I retorted stubbornly. "Fine, Mary, you're really something." John rarely gave me a thumbs up while I was cooking. John played with the two kids, building blocks with them, and they had a great time together. My sister even coquettishly sat in John's arms watching this warm family scene. My eyes got a bit teary. I never thought that one day, these two kids could play with their biological father like this. After a simple dinner, I started to clean the house, bathe the kids, and put them to bed. Then my sister said, "Mom, I forgot to tell you, the kindergarten assigned another handicraft homework today. We need to make big dinosaurs." "Mom, I want a triceratops. I want a Tyrannosaurus Rex, a really big one." My brother excitedly stretched out his arms to show the size. I immediately got angry. "Why does your kindergarten keep assigning handicraft homework? It's supposed to be quality education, but you're too young to do it." It's all the parents who end up doing it. Is it the kids going to kindergarten or the parents? The two kids didn't understand my complaints at all, blinking their big eyes. "Mom, you can do it. Come on." When I rubbed my shoulders and came out of the bedroom, John was looking through the photo album of the two kids. "Why are you still here?" "I'm leaving soon." "Yeah." I was too busy to care about him and took out the handicraft box. "What are you doing?" John asked in confusion. "It's past 10 o'clock. Why aren't you Going to sleep, making big dinosaurs, can't you see? You, John had a mocking smile in his eyes. Mary, you've really improved a lot. I understood John's surprise. After all, I used to be very clumsy before. I thought it was interesting to watch John shave, so I insisted on helping him. As a result, I cut him, and the bleeding wouldn't stop for a long time. I pouted and cried, "Does it hurt a lot?" John hugged me in his arms with a laugh. "Yeah, it hurts. It'll only get better if you give me a kiss." That was one of the few times I took the initiative to please him and tried my best to amuse him. John got so excited that he forced me to look at myself in the mirror. I looked so seductive. Thinking about it now, I still feel ashamed. While I was in a daze, John took the initiative to pull over the handicraft box. "What do we need to make? I'll help you. You go to sleep." My eyes lit up when I heard that, and I stretched out my arms to show the size. Dinosaurs this big, one Triceratops and one Tyrannosaurus Rex. My arms were much longer than my brother's, and I grinned slyly. There was indulgence in John's eyes. "Okay, when you wake up tomorrow morning, the big dinosaurs will be done." That night, I slept extremely well. When I woke up in the morning, John had already left, and two exquisite big dinosaurs were placed on the coffee table. There was also a small pterosaur beside them. John left a sticky note. "There wasn't enough material, so I made you a small one." The two kids were overjoyed. "Mom, this time the other kids definitely won't laugh at us." But the happiness didn't last long. I had just arrived at the company when Rose called me. "Honey, my leg is broken. Who did this righteous deed?" I joked. "John, are you serious?" I was so scared that I stood up. I rushed to the hospital. Rose was lying in the emergency room of the hospital with a bruised face, and his right leg was fixed with a splint. "Why did he hit you?" "How would I know? I was coming out of the hotel with my boyfriend this morning. As soon as we turned into the alley, John started punching and kicking me without asking any questions. He also said that if I did anything to betray you, he'd beat me up once a day." "Where's your boyfriend?" Rose looked grief-stricken. "When he saw me getting beaten, he ran away. I didn't expect him to be such a scumbag." "Come on, Mary, what's going on between you two? You two are causing trouble. Don't drag me into it," I said embarrassedly. "I told him you were my husband." "You're going to get me killed." Rose's face turned green with fear. "I'll go and explain it clearly to him. You lie down. I'll pay your medical bills. Take this chance to break up with that boyfriend of yours." "Why did you hit Rose?" For years later, I dialed John's number again. "Didn't you say he was on a business trip? Can't he come back from a business trip?" "Mary, he's not on a business trip. He's cheating on you. He lied to you about being on a business trip, but he was actually having a room with someone in a hotel 3 kilometers from your home." John's tone was full of gritted teeth. "So what if he's cheating? It's just a mistake that all men in the world make. No matter what he does, it won't change the fact that I love him." John was so speechless. "Mary, listen to what you're saying. I didn't expect you to be such a lovesick fool. If you knew who he was cheating with, I wonder if you could still say these noble words. Who is he cheating with? An alien. He's fucking. Forget it. I'm afraid it'll disgust you if I say it." I couldn't help but laugh. "It's just a man, after all." I softened my tone. "John, don't go after Rose anymore. What's the point? Am I going to divorce him? And then what? I'm a 30-year-old divorced woman with 2 kids. Are you going to marry me?" I knew John too well. He's a Virgo, naturally fastidious, especially when it comes to relationships. How could he possibly accept me, a woman who had been married and had 2 children, now that Alice had returned to China? They were the perfect couple set by the plot. He came here now, probably more out of unwillingness. John was silent for a long time. "John, go back to Beijing. We're not from the same world." Then I hung up the call resolutely. Less than half an hour later, Rose called me again. "Hee, what are you so happy about?" I asked in confusion. "Hee, my front teeth are gone. I can't speak clearly." His voice was tinged with sobs. "Rose, how could you lose your teeth at your age?" Hee. John came to the hospital to beat me up again. John must be crazy, since he couldn't win the argument with me. He went to beat Rose. Where is he? He's been taken to the police station. By now, the good mood brought by the 2 big dinosaurs had completely disappeared. I called John, but I couldn't get through. His phone was probably confiscated. I first went to the hospital to comfort Rose. The doctor said that 2 of his front teeth had been knocked out and couldn't be put back. He could only get new ones implanted in a few days. I spent several months' salary on his medical bills. "Rose, when the police contact you, say that John didn't hit you on purpose. He accidentally hurt you while joking with you." "I don't agree." Rose refused angrily. "If you don't agree, the brother and sister won't call you dad anymore." Because of his sexual orientation, Rose probably wouldn't have his own children in this lifetime. So he cherished the brother and sister very much. Under my coercion and bribery, he chose to reconcile. Then I rushed to the police station. I was just about to find someone to ask where John was being held when someone grabbed my arm and slapped me hard across the face. I wasn't prepared and fell heavily to the ground. Alice, in a custom-made long dress, looked haughty as she slowly withdrew her hand. Even though there were so many people watching, because of Alice's status, no one dared to help me up. Alice looked down at me, her eyes full of jealous rage. Mary, you said you wouldn't pester John. Now that your marriage has problems, you want to drag John down. John has left the huge business in Beijing just because of you and has come here to beat people like a hooligan. When has he ever been so impulsive? Mary, you just want to see me make a fool of myself, right? For 4 years, John has been reluctant to be with me. Now that I'm finally about to get engaged to him, you deliberately seduce him and make me lose face. But I'm telling you, Alice, am not someone to be trifled with. Since you overestimate yourself, don't blame me for being rude to you. I was lying on the ground, my body trembling involuntarily. How could I forget? She's the female lead. She comes from a superior family. Crushing me would be as easy as crushing an ant. No matter how much I struggle, I'll end up as her foil. She's the center of attention, the one that the male lead's eyes are always on, fearing the torture. I stammered, Miss Alice, I'll leave right away. I won't contact John ever again. John was temporarily detained at the police station. Alice brought a lawyer. He wasn't worried at all. At most, he'd just pay that scumbag a sum of money. Since that man used to live off Mary, he probably didn't have much backbone. He was just thinking about Mary's problem. I'll divorce him. And then what? I'm a 30-year-old divorced woman with 2 kids. Are you going to marry me? In the past, he would have scoffed at such a question. John, came from a prominent family and was handsome. He could have any woman he wanted. How could he want a used woman? But now, he was seriously thinking about this question, because that woman was Mary, the Mary who made him think about day and night and couldn't sleep. For years ago, he let her go, planning never to see her again. But once the longing started, it was like a flood, devouring him completely. Since seeing Mary again, he realized that the pretended indifference was just because of his pride. In fact, he cared a great deal. While hating Mary for being half-hearted, he missed her desperately, so much that it hurt. Over the years, his mother had been trying to match him with Alice, and Alice was always trying to get his attention, showing concern for him. He was so annoyed anyway. He had to marry someone, so in the end, he agreed to get engaged to Alice to shut his mother up. But when he saw Mary again, all his compromises and half-heartedness collapsed. Every part of his body, every organ in his brain, was screaming. He didn't want any other woman, he only wanted Mary. Once he figured this out, John felt extremely at ease. He leaned against the wall of the police station and had the most peaceful sleep in 4 years. The lawyer was very efficient, and John was soon released. He walked out quickly, looking for Mary in the crowd, but Mary wasn't there. A trace of loss and loneliness flashed through John's eyes. Alice walked up to him with a concerned look and hugged his waist tightly. John, I was so worried about you. John came to his senses and pushed Alice away. Mary, isn't she here? Alice stamped her foot angrily. Don't mention that woman. You were trying to stand up for her and teach her husband a lesson. But she felt so sorry for him that she's been staying at the hospital with her husband. John, you don't know. She even colluded with her husband to blackmail us for a large sum of money before agreeing to a private settlement and letting you out. John stood there in a daze, unable to react for a long time. He suddenly laughed at his own delusion just now. He was willing to put aside the past and welcome Mary back because he loved her. But wasn't Mary also deeply in love with her husband? No matter what mistakes that man made, she still loved him wholeheartedly, raising 2 children for him. John, you're really fucking cheap, John murmured. After that day, John returned to Beijing. Sometimes, when the brother and sister saw him on TV, they would shout in surprise, the uncle who made the big dinosaurs. I stared at the TV in a daze. This handsome and upright man could make big dinosaurs, gently coax children, and spoil his woman. It's just that he was about to get engaged to someone else. He also sent me an engagement invitation, but because of my promise to Alice, I didn't plan to attend. Actually, one late night, he sent me a message. Mary, I've thought it over. As long as you divorce that man, I'll marry you. I'll treat the brother and sister as my own children. If you don't believe me, we won't have our own children. In the future, all my property will go to the brother and sister, as long as you come back to me. With tears streaming down my face, I replied cruelly, John, I already have my own life. You should live your life well too. Alice is the one who can be with you until the end. The next morning, he sent me another message. Sorry, I was drunk last night. I was talking nonsense. Don't take it seriously, I replied. Okay, I didn't. That day, Rose came to visit the kids on TV. There was a preview of the grand engagement of John, the bigwig in the Beijing circle. 2 days later, Rose muttered unintentionally, "This Alice, didn't she just hold an art exhibition recently? The quality of her works was really bad. She doesn't deserve the title of a genius painter at all. Only one piece was a bit more spiritual, but it was exposed as plagiarized. She's been busy with the lawsuit recently. I didn't expect John would still be willing to marry her." I looked at Rose in shock. Is that true? Of course it's true. I'm in the art circle. Alice has made quite a stir this time, and John doesn't seem to be getting involved at all. He just lets his fiancée be in the spotlight. Rose, hold me. I'm a bit dizzy. I was so shocked that I lay in bed for the whole day. In the original story, Alice was a once-in-a-decade genius painter. Because of her natural talent, she became famous at a young age. That's why she caught John's eye for years after she returned to China. The art exhibition she held achieved unprecedented success. Alice gained both fame and fortune, and was extremely popular for a while with John's exclusive favor. Alice's female lead halo was shining brightly. It's different now. I took out the invitation that I had pressed under the drawer and made up my mind. I'm going to Beijing. There was no time to waste. When I arrived in Beijing, it happened to be the officially announced engagement date. There were hundreds of reporters gathered at the entrance of the hotel. After all, John held one of the top positions in Beijing, and with his looks that could easily land him in the entertainment industry, his engagement banquet naturally attracted a lot of attention. I held the invitation and rushed straight to the lounge on the second floor. Opening the first door, I found myself in Alice's dressing room. She stared at me in disbelief, her eyes widening. "Mary, you said you wouldn't show up." "Sorry, Miss Alice. I want to fight for my own happiness this time." After saying that, I continued to open the doors one by one. It wasn't until I opened the last door at the end of the corridor that I finally saw John. He was standing upright in a classic black and white suit, facing the huge French windows. An air of indifference and loneliness surrounded him. Alice chased after me, holding up her long dress. I turned around and locked the door, shutting everyone out. John heard the commotion and turned around. The moment he saw me, he froze for a few seconds, then slowly raised his long fingers and rubbed his temples. Am I hallucinating? I walked up to him and looked straight into his eyes. "John, do you still love Alice?" John realized that I was truly standing in front of him. He put away his exhaustion and wanted to reach out to touch the top of my head, but just before he did, he withdrew his hand. He gave a bitter smile and let his hand fall to his trouser seam. Then, with one hand in his pocket, he put on a relaxed expression. "Why do you stay still?" I clenched my fists and summoned my courage. "Answer my question." He sighed, his tone helpless. "I've never loved her. How can there be a still?" Sure enough, it was different from the original plot. In the original story, the male lead had loved Alice since childhood and was unwavering. At that moment, my heart constricted, and tears welled up in my eyes instantly. My voice choked as I said, "Then, if I'm here to stop the wedding today, will you come with me?" John tilted his head, scrutinizing me carefully. Seeing the determination on my face, he smiled. "Darling, I've been waiting for you. There's no need to stop it. I'll come with you willingly." When I walked out holding John's hand, Alice was furiously directing people to pry the door open. When she saw our clasped hands, she was completely incredulous. John took the initiative to speak. "I'm sorry, Miss Alice, our engagement is off." "Why?" Alice shrieked, her voice full of grief. She glared at me, her expression ferocious. "It's all because of you, you slut. You changed the plot. I'll kill you and put everything back the way it was." With that, Alice charged at me, but before she could get close, John lifted his long leg and kicked her to the ground. Now I believed that he had never loved her, because John used all his strength. Alice lay on the ground, spitting out blood. She clutched her chest, heartbroken. "John, you hit me for this slut." John looked indifferent. "If you keep talking dirty, I'll send you to your death right now." His tone was ruthless and decisive, sending chills down one's spine. Alice burst into tears. "Why? I'm the female lead. She's just a cannon fodder. I'm the one who should have all your love." I couldn't believe it. "You know about the plot too, John. If you fall in love with the supporting actress and don't follow the plot, there will be consequences." Alice screamed. John looked at me in confusion. I looked back at him. John was so smart that he immediately grasped the key point and asked, "Mary, is this why you left me?" I scratched his big hand guiltily. "I'm sorry. Since I knew about the plot, I've been running away passively, but now, I had the courage to fight against the whole world. No one can separate us. The world seemed to be running in a different way. Alice was boycotted by the entire art world because of the plagiarism scandal. The original painters, who had been too afraid to speak out due to the Alice family's power, sued Alice for plagiarism one after another. Alice was sentenced to 1 year in prison and fined for infringing on others' copyrights and having a large amount of illegal income. From then on, her protagonist halo completely disappeared. When I saw this news, John was playing with my brother and sister on the floor at my home. He said he wanted to build a relationship with the kids so that they would accept him as their stepfather earlier. After I put the kids to sleep, I came out in my nightgown, my curse on full display. John's eyes darkened, but he forced himself to look away. Only his rolling Adam's apple betrayed his current restlessness. I deliberately swayed in front of him, staying tantalizingly close. John finally couldn't hold back and pulled me onto his lap. I traced circles on his chest, and he grabbed my hand, his voice hoarse. "Darling, you're still not divorced. It's not good for you, so, don't test me." He buried his nose in my neck. Trying to calm his agitated body, I tilted my head and bit his earlobe. John let out a muffled groan. "Do you want it?" I teased. "No." He was holding back. "Rose and I never got married, so there's no need for a divorce," I said softly. John looked up at me in disbelief. The next second, he laid me down on the couch. John's eyes were red at the corners, and his chest heaved violently. "Darling, I'm going to get back everything you owed me 4 years ago." "John, be gentler." I pounded on him. "Darling, I can't. It misses you too much." John and I got married, however. I never told him that my brother and sister were his children. I was still worried that someday, the plot would develop as it was said in the book, so I always wanted to leave a way out for the kids and not involve them at night. After John learned to put my brother and sister to sleep, he still made me so weak in the legs. I had a dream in his arms. In the dream, the original plot was changed. The vicious female supporting role got the upper hand and became a happy winner in life. When I got up, I went to find John barefoot, wanting to tell him this news. But I saw several lawyers in suits standing in the living room. John glanced disapprovingly at my bare feet and picked me up horizontally, putting me on the couch. "Mary, today, I invited lawyers to do the estate notarization." "Estate notarization? Why are you doing that at such a young age?" I was puzzled. "Nobody knows which will come first, tomorrow or the future. It won't hurt to do it early. It's just, Mary, I thought about what I said before about giving all my property to your brother and sister, and on second thought, it's not quite appropriate, so I want to make some changes." John seemed to be asking for my opinion. Looking deeply into my eyes, I felt a bit sour. Sure enough, in his eyes, since he thought my brother and sister were Rose's children, he wouldn't give all his love to them. People just don't cherish children they didn't raise. Of course, it was also my fault for not telling him the truth. When human nature was revealed, I was also hurt. I forced myself to stay calm and said, "It's okay. It doesn't matter if you don't give it to them. I can work to support them." John seemed dissatisfied with my reaction. Ignoring the presence of others, he pinched my waist and put me on his lap, his forehead against mine. "Darling, I'll keep my promise. It's just that, compared to those 2 kids, I want to plan more for you, so if something unexpected happens to me, 50% of my property will go to you, and the rest will be divided equally between the 2 kids." I choked up. Immediately, I finally understood why the original plot had changed. It was because John's love for Mary was so persistent that it couldn't follow the author's original intention. So, the author made concessions. I hooked my arms around John's neck and pulled him down. "John, Rose and I never even kissed. Those 2 kids are yours." Extra chapter. In my senior year of university, John returned to the school as an outstanding alumnus to give a speech. He was noble, upright, and had an extraordinary temperament. I was immediately smitten. I deliberately dropped my books. John gracefully bent down, stretched out his long hand, and picked them up one by one, handing them to me. I looked at him, my heart pounding. "Senior, do you have a girlfriend?" He curved his lips. "Not yet. Do you think I'm suitable?" John seemed surprised by my directness and was stunned for a moment. Then he gave a